Hey everyone, welcome back. Quick thanks to the patrons who keep this channel alive. Your requests are what I narrate next. If you want to join them, you can try Patreon free for 7 days, then it's starting with just $3 a month. Links in the description. Now, let's get into the story.
Where did you crawl out of, you wild little brat? You think you can just walk into the Murong family manor? Outside the gates of the Murong manor, Lu Sun was stopped by the guards. The estate was vast, villa after villa, home to a great many of the Murong family. All but Murong Wan. She had never managed to open her meridians, and had long been counted a burden on the family. To spare herself her elders' lectures, she'd bought a villa of her own and lived there alone. I've something important to discuss with Murong Wan. Tell her Lu Sun is here to see her. Lu Sun wasn't ready to give up. Half the world wants to see our young lady. If she met every one of them, she'd be worried into an early grave. Clear off. The guards waved him away, one after another. Lu Sun hadn't expected that coming to deliver medicine would leave him unable to get through the gate at all. Never mind, then. He shook his head and turned to go. Just then a car pulled up. In the back seat sat Murong Wan, worry plain on her face. For 2 days now she'd been running herself ragged, hunting for a cure for the poison in Murong Wan. The Shadow Clan's poison was a vicious thing. Murong Wan could force it down for the moment, but he'd not hold out for long. Worse, he couldn't afford to fight anyone. Every time he drew on his power, the poison bit deeper. Murong Wan had searched everywhere for a solution. A few families had medicines that could ease the symptoms, the Wang family especially, who held one that could suppress the poison for a good while. But they'd seized the chance to name their price, Murong Wan's hand in marriage. She had refused. Beep, beep. The horn sounded. Murong Wan looked up and realized they'd reached the manor without her noticing. Half a day's work, and still no answer. And then she caught sight of a familiar figure at the gate. She rolled down the window, and froze. Lu Sun. What is he doing here? Ever since that night, even in the dead of dark with the whole house asleep, the odd image would surface in her mind and set her blushing. But she was set on her cultivation, and had no intention of entangling herself with Lu Sun any further. Murong Wan. Across the way, Lu Sun had spotted her too. Stop the car. Yes, miss. Murong Wan stepped out. Lu Sun came over, and looking at that lovely face, he couldn't help recalling that night, and something stirred in him despite himself. The eyes are the windows of the soul. The shift in his expression didn't escape her. Murong Wan seemed to catch the drift of his thoughts, and her own expression turned faintly awkward. The Shadow Clan made an attempt yesterday, she said first. Are you all right? I'm fine. I killed one of them, in fact. This is what I found on him. It may be of use to your father. Lu Sun held out the small medicine vial. That surprised her. The Shadow Clan were formidable. How had Lu Sun managed to kill one? She had no way of knowing that his showing yesterday owed everything to her own diligent practice. Thank you. I'll take it back and have my father try it. Murong Wan accepted it gratefully. Whether or not the vial proved useful, the thought behind it was precious. Then she found herself puzzled again. How did Lu Sun know father was hurt? Recalling the connection between Lu Sun and Chu Youqing, she understood soon enough, and besides, word of Murong Wan's injury had spread with unnatural speed these past 2 days. She'd heard that someone within the Murong family had put it about deliberately. Some of them, it seemed, would be glad enough to see Murong Wan fall in battle. I'll be going, then. His errand done, Lu Sun made to leave. Won't you come in and sit a while? If this medicine works, my father will want to thank you himself. No, I'm bound for the capital. Chu Youqing tells me you'll be coming there yourself before long. I'll see you in the capital. Wait. As he turned to go, Murong Wan called after him. Then her voice went cold, and she rounded on the guards. You there. Come here. Did you deliberately make trouble for Lu Sun just now? The guards' faces changed, and they hurried over. Brother Lu, forgive us, we didn't recognize you. Please overlook it. They bowed and apologized, over and over. You dare turn away the young lady's guest. Collect your wages and get out. The sight of you offends me. A man with the look of a steward had appeared. Young sir, they don't know the rules. Please forgive them. He bowed to Lu Sun, all apology. So he shows himself now. Earlier, Lu Sun had watched him quite clearly, hovering not far off and taking it all in. A complicated house, the Murongs. Leaving the manor behind, Lu Sun turned it over in his mind. No wonder Murong Wan chose to live apart. I hope the medicine does Murong Zhan some good. Murong Wan hadn't come into her strength yet, and the Murong family couldn't afford chaos. If the house fell into disorder and she was caught up in it, Lu Sun himself would stand to lose a great deal. Let's go to the capital. He got into the car and set off for the Marshal Bureau. Student Lu Sun, you've arrived too late in the day. Stay the night at the hotel, we'll arrange an escort for you and the other students to the capital tomorrow. All right. Thank you. No need for thanks. Geniuses, it seemed, always got special treatment. Lu Sun had arrived late, and yet the Marshal Bureau had put him up in a hotel kept for official receptions, guarded around the clock by powerful cultivators. Strange. The next morning Lu Sun woke puzzled. Mro. Xiao Bai woke too. What surprised him was that she'd shown no odd behavior at all last night, no sudden speech, no shift into that strange princess. Perhaps the princess's consciousness only surfaces once every few days. Not an alien species. A few hours later, Xiao Bai passed inspection at the airport security checkpoint. Not a starborn alien species, then. Starborn creatures carried a peculiar energy in their bodies, easily detected. Even those that made it into a city were suppressed by the city's arrays and could do little real damage within the walls. Beyond them, though, they turned savage. Excuse me, are you Lu Sun? I am. And you are? Song Yuan, from number 2 middle school. I'm the one who caused the phenomenon on the 28th. The Shadow Clan didn't come after you. No, I went to ground the moment word of the Shadow Clan got out. Aboard the silver-white flying boat, Lu Sun met the other students bound for the capital. The flying boats were a new sort of craft, shaped like a ship, wingless, yet able to soar. The finest of them could climb clear of the atmosphere and sail the void beyond. The boat was crowded with students, all of them reporting early to the great universities of the capital. Look, is that a dragon's bone? Up there, that must be a space fortress. Magnificent. Look, there's a tree in the clouds. That's a cloud cotton tree, grown in the Weaver Maiden Palace. The cotton from it is woven into cloud silk robes. They carry a natural lightness to them. Tens of millions apiece. There were wonders enough along the way. A bird no bigger than a sparrow came winging toward them, and as it neared the flying boat it swelled in an instant to something larger than the vessel itself, jaws gaping to swallow it whole. The boat banked hard and slipped aside. A figure shot out from it at once and closed with the great bird. An alien species. Look at the size of it. What realm do you suppose it's in? The sight shook the students. A good many starborn creatures lay hidden across the blue planet, and one or two surfaced from time to time. Today, the students simply happened to catch sight of one. Fortunately there were strong cultivators aboard, and the creature was dealt with quickly. 2 hours later they reached the capital. So this is the capital, look at all the floating islands. The students stared, amazed. The capital's skyline was a breathtaking thing. Hundreds of floating islands hung like mountains turned upside down, waterfalls spilling from their edges and breaking into rainbow mist halfway down. Together they formed a defensive network for the capital of extraordinary depth. Lu Sun, over here. At the airport, Chu Youqing had been waiting a good while. Spotting him, she waved, delighted. Lu Sun, you're incredible. My aunt says grandfather took the medicine you sent, and the toxins have been cleared right out of him. I can't thank you enough. The words came tumbling out of Chu Youqing the moment they met. So that vial really was the antidote? Lu Sun was baffled. He couldn't work out why a second-tier Shadow Clan member would have been carrying the antidote on him. Then again, never mind the rest of it, so long as the cure worked. Grandfather says he means to thank you properly. Next time you're back in Rongcheng, don't you dare forget to call on him, you should shake him down for something good. Chu Youqing's smile bloomed, a note of mischief in her voice. Grandfather's very rich. A fourth-tier grandmaster would be, at that. Setting everything else aside, reaching the fourth tier meant burning through dark energy measured in cubic meters. 1 unit of dark energy was reckoned as the dark energy contained in a single cubic centimeter at normal density, which made 1 cubic meter the equivalent of 1,000,000 units. From that alone, one could guess at the fortune a fourth-tier grandmaster commanded, a veteran one especially. In truth, dark energy couldn't be reduced so simply to money. Convert the dark energy some of the very top powers had consumed, and it would buy most of the nations on the blue planet outright. The two of them talked as they made their way out of the airport. Why haven't you asked me what my method is? Lu Sun said suddenly. It had been a good while since Chu Youqing first called him, and she still hadn't asked about the method he'd mentioned, the one to awaken her ancient spirit roots. You'll tell me when you're ready, won't you? Chu Youqing blinked those bright eyes at him, her tone easy and bright. Lu Sun understood. She must be afraid her earlier words of comfort would look like they'd only been said for my sake. That's why she hasn't raised it since we met. The method's a bit particular. He looked at her, serious. Anticipation lit her face. Youqing. There you are. A gentle woman's voice cut in. Chu Youqing turned, and looked, in that instant, as though the sky had fallen in. Mom. What are you doing here? Mom. Lu Sun looked toward the voice and saw a beautiful woman approaching, perhaps in her early 30s. There was something of Murong Wan in her face, though she carried herself with a more settled poise, an elegance about her. From the way Chu Youqing addressed her, this was her mother, Murong Wan's elder sister, Murong Yen. No wonder her eyes were so like Murong Wan's. Though she looked far too young for it. She seemed barely into her 30s, her real age was certainly past that, likely closer to 40. In an age of high martial cultivation there were no end of ways to preserve one's condition, so it was hardly strange. Some of the truly powerful, cultivators of immortality above all, still looked like youths and maidens well past their 100th year. You'd be Lu Sun. Murong Yen didn't answer her daughter at all, her gaze went straight to him. Hello, Auntie. Yes, Lu Sun. He felt rather as though he were being presented to the parents. Caught out by them, more precisely. A little nervous, then, but not frightened in the least. He wasn't some green boy. I'm 19 and at university. What's wrong with seeing someone? There's a cafe over there. Shall we sit and talk? Murong Yen suggested. She wants to talk. Mom, if I hadn't come to meet Lu Sun, what would you even be doing here? Chu Youqing pouted, thoroughly put out. Youqing. I only want a word with Lu Sun. Murong Yan's manner stayed gentle, she plainly hadn't come to make trouble for him. Of course, Auntie. Lu Sun agreed. Youqing, go and wait over there. Mom. Be good. In the cafe, Chu Youqing sat down on the far side, sulking. What will you have? A latte, please. 2 lattes. The coffee ordered, Murong Yen slipped off her jacket. Lu Sun sat straight-backed and kept his eyes carefully to himself. She was Chu Youqing's mother, after all, and, he supposed, his future mother-in-law. Do you know why Yuqing likes you? Murong Wan came at it directly, naming the thing between him and her daughter outright. Auntie, honestly, I don't. Lu Sun answered truthfully. He'd always felt Chu Youqing had agreed far too readily. At first I assumed she was doing it to help her aunt. But even after that was done, she went on calling herself my girlfriend, and went on being good to me. 5 years ago you'd have been in middle school, I expect. When Blue Star passed through a node on the ancient Star Road, it met with catastrophe. I'm sure that disaster left its mark on you. Murong Wan told it slowly, unhurried. Lu Sun's expression turned grave. He remembered the catastrophe 5 years ago perfectly well. His parents had died in it. It came on very suddenly. A great many of Blue Star's strongest were out in the starry sky at the time and couldn't return to help in time. Rongqing's protective formation was broken, and alien species and their tribes seized the chance to run riot. The dead and wounded in Rongqing were beyond counting. Yuqing very nearly died in that disaster. She was saved by a kind-hearted couple, already wounded themselves, and they risked their lives for her all the same. Murong Wan took a sip of her coffee. She has never forgotten it. That couple. They were my parents. She'd said as much, how could Lu Sun not understand? The couple Murong Wan spoke of, the ones who'd saved Chu Youqing, could only have been his parents. Yes. Murong Wan inclined her head slightly. So it was true. It had been his parents who saved Chu Youqing. Which explained why she'd agreed so suddenly to be his girlfriend. And why she didn't simply walk away once her aunt had been helped. Very likely Chu Youqing had known who he was from the start, known he was the son of the couple who had saved her life. We only learned of it recently. Otherwise Youqing's father and I would have come to thank you in person long ago. Murong Wan pressed her lips together, a note of guilt in her voice, then smiled. Still, it isn't too late. She drew a card from her handbag with easy grace and pushed it across to Lu Sun with slender fingers. Auntie, what's this? Lu Sun looked at it, puzzled. Yuqing owes your family her life. This is a small token of our gratitude. There are 20,000 units of dark energy on the card, I've written the passcode on the back. Please, take it. Murong Wan spoke gently. 20,000 units of dark energy. An enormous sum. But for Murong Wan to produce a sum like that now, and call it repayment for his parents saving Chu Youqing's life years ago, the intent behind it hardly needed spelling out. Lu Sun could have guessed her purpose with his eyes shut. She meant to settle the old debt with money, and put an end to her daughter's association with him. He really does take me for some green boy, Lu Sun thought. Why do these wealthy sorts always reach for money first? Do they truly think it settles everything? Auntie, what happened was my parents' own choice. And they didn't save only Chu Youqing. There's no need to thank me for it. Lu Sun's face gave nothing away as he pushed the card back. This is all the dark energy we can put together just now. We've a villa in Rongqing as well, if you'd like it, we can sign it over to you. Murong Wan frowned slightly and pushed the card toward him again. She thinks I'm holding out for more. Auntie, you've misunderstood me. I truly don't want it. Lu Sun shook his head, half laughing, and pushed the card firmly back. Lu Sun. All at once Murong Wan's eyes reddened, her voice catching. Then let me beg you, leave Yuqing. Please. For your sake she'd sooner give up her ancient spirit roots than accept the He family's proposal. If you'll only agree, we'll compensate you, whatever it takes, even if it ruins us. Seeing him unmoved, Murong Wan had dropped the pretense at last, and let the plea show plain on her face. And there it is. Lu Sun had known she must have sought him out for this. His relationship with Chu Youqing had surely come out in some quarrel between mother and daughter. How else would Murong Wan have learned of it? Auntie, it's only innate spirit energy. Why the urgency? Lu Sun was genuinely puzzled. The next time Blue Star entered the ancient Star Road, even if the Chu family couldn't obtain it themselves, buying it would be simple enough. There'd be no need to let others hold it over them, and trade Chu Youqing's marriage for it before the money ever changed hands. You don't understand. A sixth realm power told us that once Youqing's ancient spirit roots pass her 18th year, the chance of awakening them grows very small. Worry filled Murong Wan's face. Youqing turns 19 in a month. This is the last of her time. Ah. So that's it. Lu Sun had only just turned 19 himself, Chu Youqing was a few months his junior. And for a month now there'd been no sign of Blue Star entering the ancient Star Road. No wonder Murong Wan was frantic. Very likely the family in the capital that held innate spirit energy had seen the same thing, and pressed for a marriage alliance on the strength of it. Lu Sun, for Youqing's future, I'm begging you. Only agree to leave her, and I'll grant you anything you ask. Murong Wan pleaded, desperate. Lu Sun pulled his thoughts firmly back into line. Chu Youqing was his girlfriend, he wasn't that sort of man. Auntie, I want the same thing you do, for Youqing to be well. Don't worry. I know what needs doing. He said it seriously. Lu Sun, thank you, truly, relief flooded Murong Wan's face, and she pressed the card on him once more. Take the card in front of Youqing. I'll tell her you left her for the money, so she'll let it go. I'm sorry to wrong you like this. Consider the dark energy our compensation. She didn't finish. A clear voice cut across her. Mom, what do you think you're doing? Chu Youqing had seen it from across the room, and came sweeping over like a gust of wind. Youqing, you don't understand. My affairs are mine to decide. Even if I never awaken my ancient spirit roots as long as I live, I won't marry anyone surnamed he. Lu Sun, let's go. Chu Youqing cut her mother off, thoroughly furious, and pulled at his arm. Lu Sun didn't budge. He was already at the third stage of the Qi-Si realm, Chu Youqing hadn't so much as opened her meridians, and couldn't have shifted him an inch. Lu Sun. She looked back at him, bewildered. Chu Youqing, your aunt is right. Nothing matters more for you right now than awakening those ancient spirit roots. Lu Sun looked at the red rims of her eyes, his voice low and still as a deep pool. Something seemed to dawn on her, and the light in her eyes dimmed. So, what's your choice, Lu Sun? My choice. He looked into her eyes for a long moment. And then, under Murong Wan's disbelieving stare, Lu Sun took Chu Youqing's face in his hands and kissed her. Ah, Murong Wan clapped both hands over her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Crash. The waiter coming over with the coffee lost his grip, cups and saucers went to pieces on the floor. A ripple of applause and whistles went up around them. Chu Youqing had gone rigid, eyes wide, her mind gone perfectly blank. She hadn't expected him to kiss her, and the shock left her frozen where she stood. A full minute passed before a system prompt reached him. Binding conditions met. Bound to Chu Youqing. Current return multiplier, 20. Note, Chu Youqing possesses a top-grade ancient spirit root. Awakening progress, 9%. Ancient spirit roots are innate spirit roots capable of opening at least 9 spirit veins, along with heaven and earth. Extraordinary veins. Reminder, the host has an unclaimed binding reward. That, of course, was the purpose of the kiss, to bind Chu Youqing. When Murong Wan had been bound to him, the system had done it automatically, after the two of them had been at their most intimate. But there was another route to a binding besides that one. Once the target's favor toward Lu Sun reached a full 100%, a long kiss would serve just as well. Chu Youqing's favor toward him had reached 100% some time ago. So the kiss had bound her, as naturally as anything. The binding reward followed at once. Host has obtained a strand of innate spirit energy. It may be used to awaken Chu Youqing's ancient spirit roots. He'd guessed rightly, then, binding with Chu Youqing had indeed yielded innate spirit energy. Without a word, he passed the innate spirit energy into her through the kiss. Chu Youqing's mind came back online at last, and the color rushed up her face all the way to her neck. She forgot to struggle at all. Another minute, and the last of the innate spirit energy had passed to her. Lu Sun drew back. Lu Sun, what do you think you're doing? Murong Wan had surfaced from her shock at last, her eyes blazing. He'd kissed her daughter, in front of her own mother. Lu Sun met her furious glare evenly. Auntie. That's my answer. Murong Wan's hands trembled with rage. Then she noticed something. Youqing. What's the matter with you? Chu Youqing stood where she was, flushed and utterly motionless, as though stunned senseless. Murong Wan hurried over to check her. Lu Sun, look what you've done. Alarm rose in her voice. Chu Youqing wasn't responding at all, like a machine gone dead mid-task. She had her phone out, on the point of calling for an ambulance, when Chu Youqing came back to herself. Youqing. I'm all right. A pale halo bloomed suddenly around the girl, and her hair stirred in a wind that wasn't there. She raised her head slowly, a strange light flickering in her eyes. Mom. I can feel it. My ancient spirit roots are awakening. Look at that, what a sight. Steady on. This is the capital, geniuses gather here by the hundred. It'd be stranger if a day passed without some phenomenon. Near the capital's airport, the sky changed color. Petals came drifting down across the whole of it like rain, as though immortals above were scattering blossoms, a magnificent thing to see. And through that rain of flowers, 9 phantom cranes came winging out of the clouds, their clear cries ringing like the music of heaven itself. Mom, look! On a flying boat only just arrived, a child cried out to his mother in excitement. Flower rain of the 9 heavens to steep the immortal bones, a crane's cry to break the mysterious gate. Is this the awakening of a heavenly spirit root? Above the clouds, a powerful figure turned his gaze toward it. Much of the capital had been roused. Streaks of light came flying in from every direction, converging on the source of the phenomenon. Geniuses were common enough in the capital, but a sight like this was still worth looking into. Inside the cafe, Chu Youqing stood wrapped in a white immortal radiance, her skin bright as jade, her black hair stirring in a wind that wasn't there, every strand of it seeming flecked with starlight. Murong Wan's hands were clenched tight, tears of joy shining in her eyes. These past days she'd worn herself to nothing over her daughter's ancient spirit roots, dragging Chu Youqing all over the capital, begging help from anyone who might give it, trying to buy innate spirit energy. And when she'd finally learned that the He family possessed some, the He family had seized the chance to squeeze her for it. Mother and daughter had quarreled over the matter more than once, and come close to a real falling out. And now, out of nowhere, this. Chu Youqing's ancient spirit roots, awakening on their own. The grade of those roots was plainly no low one, if their awakening could set off a phenomenon on this scale, one that had stirred half the capital. In no time at all, a good many powerful figures had gathered outside the cafe. Lost in her joy, Murong Wan never noticed that Lu Sun was no longer there. She had wondered, briefly, whether Chu Youqing's awakening might have something to do with him. But she dismissed it almost at once. Innate spirit energy was far too rare, the He family had only come by theirs through sheer chance. How could a first year with no background and no strength to speak of possibly have any? At that moment, Lu Sun was shut in the washroom. Chu Youqing has successfully awakened an ultimate heavenly spirit root. Host receives a 20-fold return, chaos spirit root obtained. The chaos spirit root is the foremost spirit root in the universe. It can hold spiritual power of every attribute, ignores attribute. Restraint, and can simulate the effects of any spirit root. All things have their fate, the host alone escapes it. Therefore, Until the host is strong enough, cultivating by his own effort is forbidden. The resulting phenomena would shake the starry sky and invite disaster. The host's fate has been automatically shielded. Following the prompts, Lu Xun collected his reward. A vast, unfathomable force welled up inside him, and a brilliant immortal light burst from the depths of his dantian. Slowly it condensed, taking shape as a crystalline immortal root, settling and taking hold there. Even with the system shielding his fate, a faint spiritual glow still hung about him, an air of something not quite mortal. Here we go again. Lu Xun looked over the prompts, at a loss for words. With Chu Youqing's ancient spirit root awakened, he'd taken another 20-fold return and come away with a still more formidable chaos spirit root. And still the system forbade him to cultivate. Fine. Lying flat it is, then. He shrugged. Murong Wan in the martial world, Chu Youqing in the immortal one. His chaotic divine body could hold both powers at once. Lie about at home, and his cultivation grew regardless. Once the phenomenon around him had faded, Lu Xun fished Xiao Bai out of his pocket, tucked her under his arm, and went back out. I'd not have believed it, awakening her ancient spirit roots entirely on her own. And judging by that phenomenon, these are no ordinary roots. They may well reach the standard of a heavenly spirit root. Quite. If only such a talent had been born to our house. Chu Youqing was, by now, the absolute center of attention in the cafe. The ordinary customers had been cleared out, those who remained were prominent cultivators of the capital. Madam Chu, if the Chu family will consent to the match with my He family, will increase everything we promised before tenfold. A square-faced middle-aged man pressed on eagerly, his gaze burning. And more than that, my He family will put its full strength behind seeing the Chu family established here in the capital. As for innate spirit energy, should Miss Chu have need of it, my family's vaults are open to her, to help her open as many spirit veins as she can. Murong Yen couldn't help being moved by it. This was, after all, the very family that possessed innate spirit energy, the He family of the capital. The moment Chu Youqing's roots had stirred, the He family had seen the phenomenon in the heavens and come at a run. And on discovering she'd awakened her ancient spirit roots unaided, they'd raised their offer at once, pressing harder than ever for the marriage alliance. There were things Murong Yen hadn't told Lu Xun or her daughter. The truth was that she wanted the match with the He family. Partly for Chu Youqing's own growth. The He family of the capital was a greater house by far than either the Murongs or the Wangs of Rongcheng, and marrying into such a family carried no end of advantages. Cultivation wasn't talent alone, without resources enough, even one born with heaven and earth extraordinary veins might never rise. And the road of cultivation was thick with obstacles, no shortage of geniuses died along the way. The He family was powerful, and could keep Chu Youqing safe. And set against that, what did Lu Xun have? To Murong Yan's eyes, as a mother, Lu Xun had precisely nothing. A green boy with a little talent, perhaps. And a pig comes sniffing after her cabbage besides. What mother doesn't want a good life for her daughter? Partly, too, because the He family could see the Chu family established in the capital. The Chus were a great house in Chengdu, but in the capital they were very small fish indeed, and her husband's branch of the family, Chu Youqing's father's line, had lost what standing it once had within the Chu clan. If they could move to the capital now and find their footing here, it would be a rising from the ashes for that line. In time, he could return to Chengdu with his head high, and hold it up before the rest of the Chus. Mom, if you want to marry them, do it yourself. I've still got school. Chu Youqing's lovely face was frost, and she refused flat out. She'd had no wish for it before. With her ancient spirit roots awakened, there was less chance than ever she'd agree. Miss Chu, you misunderstand us. We don't ask you to marry now, only to be betrothed. The wedding can wait until your studies are done and you've returned. The middle-aged man hurried to explain. That won't do. I already have a boyfriend. That said, Chu Youqing glanced about for Lu Sun. A boyfriend? Miss Chu, surely you're joking. With your talent, who in a backwater like Rongqing could possibly be worthy of you? The man looked startled, and plainly didn't believe a word of it. She wasn't joking. Lu Sun came walking over. A few strides took him to Chu Youqing's side, and there, under Murong Wan's near-scorching stare, he slid an arm around her waist. I'm her boyfriend. His tone was level, and carried through the whole room. Boyfriend? The middle-aged man raised an eyebrow, and his gaze swept toward the boy who'd appeared out of nowhere, sharp as a drawn blade. Every cultivator in the cafe turned their attention on Lu Sun. Lu Sun hadn't yet taken his hand from Chu Youqing's waist, the starlight still clinging to the girl flowed along his fingertips. To every perception in the room, Lu Sun was plainly an ordinary man, without a trace of cultivation. The chaos divine body was a formidable thing, no one could read his true strength unless they stood several realms above him. Madam Chu. The middle-aged man laughed suddenly. If your daughter means to refuse the match, she might at least trouble herself to find a decent excuse. Patriarch He, forgive her. The child is young and doesn't know better. I think we'd best let the matter rest. Murong Wan sighed. She wanted the match with the He family, true, but Chu Youqing was too stubborn by half, and Lu Sun's parents had done her family a great kindness. She'd no intention of forcing it. Madam Chu, will you not think it over once more? My He family has a bearer of ancient spirit roots of our own, He Huan. He opened 9 spirit veins 4 years ago, and in those 4 years he's reached the peak of the 3rd realm. He stands a single step from the 4th. And if Miss Chu marries him, then should a child with spirit roots be born to them, that child may take the Chu name. Seeing his opening, the head of the He family raised his offer at once. Truly. The words brought a light to Murong Wan's eyes. Truly. The He patriarch gave his word on it. Murong Wan, who had been ready to let the matter go, found herself moved all over again. Madam Chu surely knows the odds. When 2 bearers of spirit roots are joined, how likely their offspring are to carry spirit roots as well. The He patriarch pressed on. Murong Wan clasped her hands together, brow faintly furrowed, struggle and hesitation plain on her face. Mom. I'm not marrying him, whatever you say. Chu Youqing put in again. She knew her mother's worry well enough, that after her daughter's birth, there had never been a second child. In the great families, the more children the better. Her father's loss of standing within the Chu clan might well trace back to that, an only child, and a girl at that. A grandson bearing the Chu name and ancient spirit roots would mean a great deal to her parents. Bearing the Chu name, he'd be a grandson outright, not a grandson by marriage. Which was precisely why Chu Youqing feared her mother could be moved. Youqing, you're still young. You don't understand that gratitude and love aren't the same thing. Sure enough, Murong Wan began to work on her. Mum, don't speak to me of love. You're asking me to marry into the He family. That's an insult to the word. One line, and her mother fell silent. Miss Chu, with talent like yours, you'd be cherished by every soul in my house. We'd put the whole strength of the family behind your cultivation, the He patriarch promised. That won't do either. However fine your He family is, it doesn't compare to Lu Sun. I'm not marrying him, and that's the end of it. Chu Youqing snorted. Patriarch He, let me think on it. Murong Wan spoke again, torn. There were things she'd never told her daughter. Over the years she'd had a hard time of it in the Chu family, on account of bearing no more children. Though in truth, the fault was never hers. Ah, and one thing more, Madam Chu, which I neglected to mention. Some years ago my He family came into a heaven-grade technique, the Tianyan Tongxin Ju, the heart union art. Should Miss Chu practice it together with He Huan, then with his strength behind it, she could break through to the 4th realm inside 2 years at the most. The He patriarch raised his stakes again. The Tianyan Tongxinju. A stir ran through the watching cultivators. What art is that? A heaven-grade, upper-tier dual cultivation art, found in a civilization tombstone on the ancient Star Road a few years back. Powerful figures of every race tore at each other over it. I'd not have guessed the He family came away with a copy. Heaven-grade, upper-tier. No wonder they want the Chu match so badly. The murmurs carried plainly to everyone present. The He patriarch, judging the matter as good as settled, waited calmly for Murong Yan's answer. And Murong Yan was tempted. She'd heard of the Tianyan Tongxinju. Unlike most dual cultivation arts, it was a genuine one, of true benefit to both parties. He Huan of the He family stood nearly at the fourth realm. If he practiced it with Chu Youqing and was willing to pour his own cultivation into her, what she stood to gain hardly bore imagining. The patriarch's talk of the fourth realm in 2 years might well be no exaggeration at all. This time, Murong Yan was moved through and through. She was a mother, in the end, she wanted the best for her daughter. Mum, how can you? If it weren't for Lu Sun, my ancient spirit roots would never have awakened. Seeing her mother wavering, Chu Youqing spoke quickly. When Lu Sun had kissed her just now, she'd felt something pass into her. She'd guessed that the innate spirit energy had most likely come from him. She didn't know how he'd come by it, but after everything he'd done these past weeks, Chu Youqing believed in Lu Sun without a moment's doubt. Youqing, is that the truth? The words checked Murong Yan where she stood. Whatever else she wasn't a woman who forgot a debt. Miss Chu, surely you jest. Ancient spirit roots may awaken of themselves, yes, but you're 18 already and they hadn't stirred. Without innate spirit energy, awakening unaided is simply impossible. And as for innate spirit energy, I doubt there's a soul in the East who holds any but my He family. Even if there were, you'd never get near it. How would a country boy like him lay hands on such a thing? The He patriarch sneered. If he held his tongue, Murong Yan would turn again. And it worked. Murong Yan, too, thought it unlikely that Lu Sun had innate spirit energy. She knew his background well enough, he could win a lottery every day of his life and still never come by such a thing. She turned to Lu Sun, and her voice dropped to a plea. Lu Sun. Youqing owes your parents a debt. When our circumstances improve, I'll give you 100,000 units of dark energy, all at once. Will you leave her? The Chu family was not the Murong family. Since her husband's fall from standing, he could no longer put his hands on much dark energy at all. Young man. Only agree to leave Miss Chu, and my He family will give you 1 million units of dark energy. The He patriarch saw his moment and struck hard. 1 million units. A full cubic meter of dark energy, worth 10 billion at the very least. To secure Chu Youqing, the He family were willing to spend without limit. Lu Sun. Don't worry. Lu Sun patted his girlfriend's hand, and glanced at Murong Yan and the He patriarch both. Young man, one nod, and 1 million units go onto your card this instant, the patriarch promised. Lu Sun's voice, when it came, was low and level, and cold and hard as 10,000-year ice. My apologies. Never mind 1 million units of dark energy. 10 million. 100 million. 1 billion. So long as Youqing does not cast me off, I, Lu Sun, will never leave her side. Every word of it fell like iron. They struck Chu Youqing to the heart. She gripped his hand tightly. I won't leave Lu Sun. Never. You, Murong Yan's face filled with disappointment. Youqing, you disappoint me more than I can say. To her eyes, her daughter had been thoroughly turned about by this green boy, and was past saving. Chu Youqing, you've grown quite independent, haven't you? Very well. I wash my hands of you. Look after yourself. In a towering rage, Murong Yan turned on her heel, left the cafe, and went into the airport. She meant, it seemed, to go straight back to Rongcheng. So, I've made my future mother-in-law so angry she's gone home. All told, Lu Sun reckoned the first meeting with his mother-in-law a great success. Out of 100, he'd have given himself 98.5. The missing point and a half he withheld not out of any fear of growing complacent, but because he'd sent the woman storming off to catch a flight. "Let's go." Lu Sun said it softly, reaching out to take Chu Youqing's hand as though it were the most natural thing in the world. She nodded hard, and her fingertips squeezed gently at his palm. The cafe settled back into quiet. The cultivators who'd come to investigate, and the He family with them, had dispersed, leaving only a few lingering ripples of energy on the air. Among them had been representatives from Qingshu College and Beidou University. Having learned Chu Youqing's situation, they'd left a gilded token behind, a sign that she could report to either school directly. She had, after all, missed the great examination, and awakened her ancient spirit roots only now. "Father says he washes his hands of me too. What's the matter with the pair of them?" A call had come through, and Chu Youqing stamped her foot in temper. Word had plainly reached her father as well, and he'd rung to take her to task. The two of them had quarreled. "Youqing. No more lectures." She spun around, her hair whipping into a stubborn arc. "I've been able to look after myself for a long time." Her eyes flickered as she said it, plainly she was afraid Lu Sun would take the blame onto himself. Lu Sun laughed and raised a hand to ruffle her hair. "I was only going to ask whether it's quite wise to offend my future mother-in-law like this." "It isn't. She was every bit as willful in her own day, and now she wants to arrange my life for me. I won't have it." Chu Youqing pulled a face. "Your mother? So gentle a woman, willful?" Lu Sun's appetite for gossip stirred. "Well, back then the Chu family hadn't risen yet, and my father hadn't much to his name. My grandfather didn't want her marrying him, but she insisted." Chu Youqing launched into her parents' history, eyes shining. She was surprisingly lively on the subject. There really is, deep down, a streak of the gossip in everyone. Listening, Lu Sun could only marvel. Chu Youqing's father, Chu Youqing, had been exactly the sort of feckless young man people warned their daughters about. The Chu family had been poor and broken then, and he'd had little to recommend him but a handsome face and a sweet tongue, with which he'd talked his way straight into Murong Yan's heart. Murong Wan had, naturally, refused to hear of it. Father and daughter had quarreled over it, and Murong Yan had come within a hair of being turned out of the house. Chu Youqing's father, at his wit's end, had resorted to a trick to force Murong Wan's hand, a 3-month pregnancy. Watching his daughter's belly grow, Murong Wan had had little choice but to consent to the marriage. Well. Lu Sun enjoyed the tale enormously. That gentle, poised woman was once that rebellious. Then she can hardly blame Chu Youqing. Like mother, like daughter, set the example yourself and you can't complain when it's followed. Besides, Chu Youqing's father had been a feckless nobody in those days. And I'm 100 times the man he was. He was the system's host, after all. The chosen one. "Xiao Bai, come here, let me hold you." As she talked, Chu Youqing made another attempt at the little creature. Xiao Bai had burrowed into Lu Sun's arms and had no intention of moving. Seeing Chu Youqing's hand coming, she waved her little paws about in furious protest, which only made her more endearing. A text message arrived. "Ah, he's cut off my supplementary card." Her father had suspended it. Well. Now she's walking her mother's road exactly. When Murong Yan had insisted on Chu Youqing, Murong Wan had frozen her card too. A good many wealthy daughters, led astray by some worthless young man, turn obedient enough after a few days without one. "Never mind. I'll keep you." Lu Sun produced a card and held it out. "He wasn't your ordinary worthless young man. He was a rich worthless young man. After opening his heaven and earth extraordinary veins and winning his place at the capital's great universities, Rongqing No. 1 Middle School had heaped rewards on him. And since Lu Xun had no need to cultivate himself, every cultivation resource he came by from here on could go straight to Chu Youqing. More than enough to keep her handsomely. Lu Xun, I can't take your money. Take it. You don't want your parents laughing at you, do you? My strength is climbing fast enough, I'll have resources to spare. He pressed the card into her hand. All right. But let's be clear, this is a loan. Fine. However you like. She didn't refuse again. But privately she resolved to cultivate with everything she had, and let her parents see that in choosing Lu Xun, she'd chosen right. Talking as they went, the two of them left the cafe, meaning to take a car to Qingshu College and see about her enrollment first. Then, with a harsh shriek of brakes, a sleek sports car came drifting to a stop in front of them. Lu Xun took Chu Youqing's hand and made to wait for their car somewhere else. Hold on. A young man in a white shirt worked with gold got out. He strode toward Lu Xun, and with every step a flaming red lotus bloomed from the ground beneath his feet. My name is He Xiao. I completed body refinement at 18, opened my red lotus veins at 19, and I'm only 20 now, already at the 4th stage of the Qi Si. Red flame kindled at the young man's fingertips, the shadow of a dragon coiling within it. So I wonder, what exactly qualifies you to stand at Chu Youqing's side? He Xiao. The He family, then. Here to make trouble. 20. And the 4th stage of the Qi Si. Lu Xun looked him up and down. 20 years old at the 4th stage of the Qi Si was genuinely impressive. That killer from the dark web had been in his 30s and only at the 6th or 7th stage. Set against the capital's universities, though, crowded with talent as they were, it was nothing extraordinary. Why does your He family keep turning up wherever we go? Chu Youqing stepped in front of Lu Xun, thoroughly displeased. He Xiao stood at the 4th stage of the Qi Si, she was afraid he'd hurt Lu Xun. Mr. Lu. All you can manage is hiding behind a woman. Just a country bumpkin who talks naive girls round with sweet words. He Xiao's tone dripped disdain. What is it you want? Lu Xun asked calmly. Simple enough. If you're a man, fight me. I'll teach you where the sky ends and the earth begins. He Xiao looked thoroughly pleased with himself. By all means. Lu Xun stepped aside from Chu Youqing. You asked for this. He Xiao attacked without another word, a red lotus gathered in his palm, meaning to put Lu Xun down in a single blow. Humph. Lu Xun's eyes turned cold, and his figure flickered. Myriad sect step. In an instant, his body split strangely into 3. Boom. He Xiao's strike shattered the figure of Lu Xun, but the spray of blood he'd expected never came. The next second, an enormous force slammed into his chest. Even with his qi shielding him, the palm strike set his qi si churning and his organs lurching in their places. He Xiao's body flew backward and struck the ground hard, blood spilling from his mouth. Lu Xun, how are you this strong? Chu Youqing had both hands over her mouth, stars in her eyes. Pitiful. That's the strength you came to make trouble with. Lu Xun said it coldly, and took Chu Youqing off toward the car that had just pulled up. Behind them, He Xiao, who'd only just managed to sit up, was angry enough to cough blood a second time. Qingshu College. The taxi came to a smooth stop at the school gates. Oh, Chu Youqing pushed open the door, looked up, and couldn't hold back the sound. 100 meters off stood a towering white marble archway, white as snow, with a faint glow to it in the morning sun. Across the center of it, 4 gilded characters read Qingshu College in a bold, flowing hand, every stroke of them seeming to hold some ultimate truth of heaven and earth, so that simply looking at them settled the mind. That gate looks like a treasure in its own right. As one would expect of a top-tier institution. Lu Xun climbed out after her. It was already afternoon. After the commotion at the airport, the two of them had come straight here to see to Chu Youqing's enrollment. Crowded. With the trouble the Shadow Clan had stirred up, the great universities had opened early registration, and the gates of Qingshu College had been thronged for days. Martial cultivators far outnumbered those on the immortal path, yet Qingshu College's student body was scarcely smaller than Beida University's. Gathered here were the finest students from every corner of the country. Chu Youqing's case was a little unusual. Because her mother had taken her to the capital hunting innate spirit energy, she'd missed the final examination and hadn't been admitted in advance. Fortunately, the teacher at Qingshu's admissions office had promised she could enroll directly if her ancient spirit roots awakened before the examination. Now that they had, with roots of that quality, it was hardly a problem. The old man in the cafe had plainly been one of Qingshu College's senior figures, and the token he'd left allowed her to report directly. Chu Youqing. At last. This way, please. Sure enough, once she'd handed over the token and given her name, a teacher came out specially to see to it. Lu Sun stayed with her throughout. In under an hour, her enrollment was complete, remarkably efficient, considering it was an admission entirely out of the ordinary course. As you'd expect of the foremost school of immortal cultivation, geniuses everywhere. Look at senior sister Ran Jiao, she's reached the 4th realm and she's only in her 3rd year. Extraordinary. Look at the one above her. More extraordinary still. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Luo Ping, truly something. The 3rd realm inside a single year. On the campus, a great crowd of students had gathered around a ranking board. Lu Sun and Chu Youqing drifted over to see. A gathering of geniuses, truly. Lu Sun had to admit Qingshu College was thick with them. This was a stage built for prodigies. Elsewhere, a cultivator of the 3rd realm was already a master, and one of the 4th a figure of real weight. At the capital's great universities, that was merely the baseline for a genius. Not that everyone was so monstrous, those who made it onto these boards were prodigies among prodigies. Lu Sun, there are so many of them here. Chu Youqing clicked her tongue. Her own grandfather hadn't broken through to the 4th realm until nearly 50, the geniuses here reached it at 22 or 23. Comparisons like that are enough to sour anyone's mood. Believe me. One day we'll be at the top of those boards ourselves. Lu Sun said it with certainty. Chu Youqing nodded hard. The two of them were happily wandering the grounds when Chu Youqing spotted her mother. Mom. Didn't you go back to Rongcheng? What are you doing here? Helping you set up your dormitory. Murong Yan's face gave nothing away. Her arms were full. Didn't she go back to Rongcheng? Lu Sun naturally didn't say it aloud. He simply went over and took some of the load from her. Murong Yan didn't refuse, though she didn't speak to him either. Still worried about your daughter, then? Afraid I'll present you with a fait accompli? Murong Yan had been furious enough to leave for Rongcheng, and Chu Youqing's father had frozen the supplementary card she'd been using, the pair of them looking ready to disown her outright. And yet here Murong Yan was, back at the school within the day. Lu Sun suspected she was thinking of her own history, afraid that he and Chu Youqing would follow the exact road she and Chu Youqing had taken, and that her daughter would turn up pregnant. Auntie. What sort of man do you take me for? I'm a great deal more capable than your husband. He kept the complaint entirely to himself, and on the surface did everything expected of him, and did it well. Qingshu College treated its students generously. Chu Youqing's dormitory was a single room, warded by a formation of its own. Youqing, I'll be off. All right. I'll come with you to Beida University tomorrow. Having carried her things to the foot of the dormitory building, Lu Sun said his goodbyes. It was late. He found a hotel nearby and took a room, meaning to look over Beida University the next day before deciding which school to attend. Strange. Xiao Bai behaved perfectly normally that night as well. The princess didn't surface. Lu Sun resolved to keep watching. Lu Sun. The next morning, Chu Youqing was waiting at the gates of Beida University. "Where's your mother?" "Let's not talk about her, you'll only make me cross." "Oh, and the instructor I applied to yesterday has answered, she'll be at the school the day after tomorrow. I'll have to put my head down and train once she arrives, so we've got 2 days to go out and about." Another quarrel with her mother, plainly. Whether that frozen card had been unfrozen, Lu Sun didn't ask. He produced his admission letter, and the two of them went in. The place was thoroughly alive. It was the holiday, and yet hardly any students had gone home. As the two finest cultivation schools in the country, Beidou and Qingshu, left Lu Sun with a single overriding impression: the grind. The students here train from morning to night. A great many train straight through the New Year and every other holiday. Every one of them a cultivation fanatic. The resources on offer were beyond anything other schools could match. Every student drew a substantial allowance of dark energy each month. The school ran assessments large and small. Besides, the better one's results, the greater the resources one enjoyed. And there were competitions each year, the Rookie of the Year among them for first years, with handsome rewards for the winners. Beyond that, both universities gave particular attention to students who had opened their heaven and earth extraordinary veins. Every student, on entering, had to choose an instructor suited to them. Once chosen, the instructor would tailor a cultivation plan to the student's situation, and assign an assistant to supervise the training. Which put Lu Sun, who wanted nothing more than to lie flat, in a very awkward position. Now this instructor is excellent. After a whole morning at Beida University, Lu Sun finally learned from the senior students of one instructor who suited him perfectly. His name was Fei Tai-A, genuinely powerful, having reached the 5th realm. That wasn't the point. The point was that Fei Tai-A was thoroughly indifferent to everything. A few years back, some students had chosen him, and in an entire year had laid eyes on him only a handful of times. Whether they cultivated, or how they cultivated, Fei Tai-A couldn't have cared less. After 2 consecutive poor assessments, one student had finally cracked and applied to change supervisors. To anyone else, Fei Tai-A wasn't a choice at all. To Lu Sun, he was the answer to a prayer. Him. It has to be him. Here's your student card. The enrollment subsidy in dark energy has already been issued, just take the card to the logistics office and claim it. Thanks. At Beida University, Lu Sun completed his registration. Having discovered a treasure of an instructor in Fei Tai-A, he'd settled on Beida University in the end. In truth, he'd leaned that way from the start. Qingshu College was the domain of immortal cultivators, whose spiritual senses were formidable things. Lu Sun worried about being quietly observed by someone powerful. He lay about all day while his cultivation climbed by leaps and bounds, and if the secret of the system got out, that would be that. Besides, Qingshu College sat just across the road from Beida University. Hardly a distance at all, he and Chu Youqing wouldn't be separated. A good school really is different. The dark energy they hand out every month is a ceiling most ordinary people never reach. Lu Sun turned the student card over in his hand, quietly moved. The resources Beidou students enjoyed came in 5 tiers. Those who possessed heaven and earth extraordinary veins drew the highest, the first tier. On entering, Lu Sun received 1,000 units of dark energy straight away. Once term properly began, there would be a cultivation assessment. Within the same resource tier, the higher one's cultivation, the more dark energy one drew each month. After that it came down to assessment results. Even with heaven and earth extraordinary veins, 3 consecutive failed assessments meant a demotion in tier. Registration done, Lu Sun selected an instructor through the app. He put together a simple resume and submitted it to Fei Tai-A. Choosing an instructor went both ways. Now there was nothing to do but wait for an answer. Lu Sun, one of the senior students, just said that instructor isn't very responsible. Why not submit a few more applications? Learning of his choice, Chu Youqing frowned. faintly worried. Nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. A friend of mine knows Professor Fei, he's remarkable, and thoroughly devoted to his students. Lu Sun sang Fei Tai's praises without so much as a flicker. Chu Youqing looked unconvinced. All right. I'll come and help you set up your dormitory. Beidou's students were well looked after, every one of them had a single room, and those who'd opened their heaven and earth extraordinary veins had better still, a bedroom and a sitting room, and a small cultivation chamber besides. Look at him, a girlfriend like that. With Chu Youqing helping, Lu Sun drew no shortage of envious looks. By the time everything was done it was midday. Lu Sun checked, Fei Tai still hadn't replied. Wait for it. After lunch together, the two of them wandered the campus. Li Bufan. If you're a man, don't be a coward. Come up to the ring with me, if you've the nerve. And why should I be afraid? Wait until I've opened my heaven and earth extraordinary veins. I'll beat you to death. A familiar quarrel carried from up ahead, Li Bufan and Lin Yan, squared off against one another. Lu Sun. Li Bufan's face lit up at the sight of him. There you are. This fellow couldn't hold on to Lu Mei, so he's come to take it out on me instead. It's priceless. Li Bufan. You're asking to die. Lin Yan went livid. Go on, then. Li Bufan leaned in, thoroughly smug. Hit me, if you've the nerve. Let's see what the school does to you. You. Just you wait. Lin Yan ground out the threat and stalked off, thoroughly humiliated. There was little else he could do. The rules at Beidou were strict, and fighting on school grounds was forbidden. So long as Li Bufan wouldn't fight him, Lin Yan had no way to touch him. And with Chu Youqing standing right there, pressing the argument would only have embarrassed him further. Back at Rongqing No. 1 Middle School, Lin Yan had kept a few hangers-on to fight his verbal battles for him. Here at Beidou University, the students were all heaven's chosen. His title as third son of the Lin family bought him no followers at all. What happened with Lu Mei? Lu Sun asked once Lin Yan had gone, not out of any concern for her, purely for the gossip. The moment Lu Mei reached the capital she took up with some new young man and threw Lin Yan over. He can't do a thing about her, so he blames me instead. Li Bufan was thoroughly enjoying it. Just as I thought. Li Bufan had been quite right when he said they'd last a day. The Lin family counted for something in Rongqing, but in the capital they were nobody. A woman like Lu Mei would leave the moment she met better. Lu Sun, I won't intrude on the pair of you. I've cultivation to get to, I mean to open my heaven and earth extraordinary veins as soon as I can. Without them you don't count as a genius around here. And Li Bufan went off. Lu Sun and Chu Youqing carried on around the school. The place was crowded, but mostly with first years. The senior students were nearly all cultivating, and rarely came out. Lu Sun, that's Wang Tingyun. Chu Youqing spotted him at a distance. Lu Sun looked over, a man with a fierce gaze, a storm sitting behind his eyes. He'd opened the boundless wind veins, martial veins of the wind attribute. The Wang family aren't decent people. Be careful of them, Chu Youqing warned. Brother Sun, you've come to Beidou too. I thought you'd be at Qingshu College. Besides Wang Tingyun, Lu Sun ran into a string of other students from Rongqing No. 1 Middle School. Then a streak of light came down out of the sky and landed directly in front of him. Lu Sun looked up. The woman who'd spoken had fine features and skin pale as cream, her clothes were plain, and she looked elegant for all that. Perhaps 24 or 25, much of an age with Murong Wan, by appearance. Judging from the manner of her arrival, her real age was certainly a good deal greater. Flight was a mark of strength, and here at Beidou University, anyone who could fly was assuredly no ordinary person. Teacher. I'm Lu Sun. He judged her most likely one of Beidou's staff. Fu Shui. From today, I'll be your instructor. The woman in plain clothes said it evenly. Sorry. Lu Sun stared. Fu Shui, that's her. You know her. Of course. She's an elder of the Beidou Palace, a power of the Tongxian realm. They say she's a single step from the Tianxiang realm. And she's come to take a disciple herself. Startled cries went up all around. A student nearby happened to know who she was. A power of the Tongxian realm. The sixth realm. A sixth realm power, coming of her own accord to be my instructor. Has she seen something? Lu Sun, say yes, quickly. Chu Youqing had caught the student's talk and was tugging at his sleeve. Teacher Fu, I'm sorry, I've already applied to Teacher Fei. There was no chance Lu Sun would agree. From Fu Shui's manner, if he really became her student she'd pack his schedule solid with cultivation and quite possibly assign an assistant to watch him around the clock. He wouldn't be able to slack off if he tried. How is a man supposed to lie flat like that? Teacher Fei. Teacher Fei Taiye. Fei Taiye. Fu Shui's eyebrows rose slightly. Has he accepted you? I submitted it a few hours ago. Teacher Fei must be busy. Never mind that. Fu Shui cut him off. I'll tell him you're already my student. Report to the Chinya building tomorrow morning, I'll draw up a cultivation plan for you. She turned to go. Teacher Fu, wait. What is it? She looked back. I think Teacher Fei is excellent. I've decided to follow him. Lu Sun held his ground. It's fine. That's settled. Fu Shui left him no room to negotiate at all. Teacher, please think it over. I'm an idle sort. That's no matter. I'll send an assistant to supervise your training. Why not consider someone else? Wang Tingyun, or Lu Xinghe, they're far better than I am. Another time, perhaps. I came here for you. That's settled, then. Lu Sun struggled, and Fu Shui would not be moved an inch. She meant to be his instructor and that was the end of it. Must you be quite so persistent? Kind, lovely, gentle, generous, virtuous elder sister, I beg you, let me go. And Fei Tai, why in the world hasn't he answered yet? Who's trying to poach my student? A lazy voice cut in. Lu Sun turned toward it and found a scruffy, unkempt old man standing not far off. Lu Sun, is it? I had a drop too much last night and only just saw your resume. I'll take you on. Elder Fu, you can be on your way. Having settled it with Lu Sun, the old man turned to Fu Shui. A drop too much? Lu Sun looked him over and spotted the gourd-shaped wine flask at his waist, a bright, bracing scent of liquor drifting off it. This is Fei Tai, a fifth realm grandmaster. The image doesn't fit at all. Then again, better that it didn't. Wasn't this precisely the sort of instructor Lu Sun wanted? Do you truly mean to choose Fei Tai? He was wounded in love, his heart for the Tao is broken. He spends his days drunk and will make no further progress as long as he lives. An instructor as decayed as that will be of no use to you at all. Fu Shui's voice sounded suddenly at Lu Sun's ear, very soft, as though she were murmuring directly into it. A secret method of transmission, no one else could hear a word. Wounded in love, his heart for the Tao broken. That explained a great deal about the state of the man. Wonderful. Lu Sun's resolve hardened on the spot. If the King of Heaven himself had come down today, he'd still have chosen Fei Tai. Teacher Fei. He crossed the distance in 2 strides and shook the old man's hand warmly. I've been waiting for you. Ha, my good student. Fei Tai laughed and clapped him on the shoulder. From today the teacher looks after you. Anyone gives you trouble, you give them my name. Fu Shui was momentarily at a loss. She hadn't expected that even after laying out exactly what was at stake, he'd still choose Fei Tai. So be it. Looking at the old man and the young one, carrying on like old friends who'd met far too late in life, decades between them and none of it mattering. Fu Shui shook her head and vanished quietly from the spot. Lu Sun, Teacher Fei doesn't strike me as at all reliable. Teacher Fu is extraordinary, and she came all that way just for you. Why did you turn her down? Half an hour later, Chu Youqing was still thoroughly bewildered. To her mind, Fu Shui was far and away the best thing that could have happened to him. A power of the sixth realm. Chu Youqing's own instructor wasn't a sixth realm power, only a fifth realm immortal cultivator. Those of the sixth realm generally spent their time cultivating, only a handful had leisure to take students at all. And Fu Shui was a sixth realm power, a single step from the seventh. Someone like that had come in person to take him as a disciple, and Lu Sun had refused. And it wouldn't have been so bad if he'd chosen some ordinary instructor instead. But what had he chosen? Fei Tai is unreliable at a glance. That beard hasn't seen a trim in years. A fifth realm grandmaster wandering about with a wine flask on his belt, where's the dignity in that? Youqing, you don't understand. Teacher Fei is a man who hides his talents. Think of it, in films, that sort always turns out to be extraordinary. Isn't that so? I suppose so. Exactly. Just wait and see. My cultivation will come on in leaps. But you'll need to work hard yourself, Youqing, don't let me leave you too far behind. Chu Youqing was successfully talked round. The next day she threw herself into her training. Her instructor had come to see her ahead of schedule. Li Bufan was hard at his cultivation as well. Lu Sun found himself, once again, the only one with nothing to do. One place is as good as another for lying flat. Isn't that right, Xiao Bai? He amused himself with the little creature. Xiao Bai had shown nothing unusual again last night. The princess hadn't surfaced. Lu Sun. Since you chose an old man like me, I can hardly say nothing at all. There's dark energy on this card, consider it a gift. That afternoon, Fei Tai called him out and handed over a card. Lu Sun looked it over, an energy card, much like a store card, save that what it recorded was dark energy. Thank you, teacher. Oh, and there's an earth-grade technique here. Should be of some use to you. Practice properly, don't give Elder Fu cause to laugh at us. Fei Tai tossed him a manual as well and wandered off, unsteady on his feet. He'd plainly been drinking again the night before. Now that is thoroughly unbothered. Lu Sun felt his choice had been extremely wise. Any other instructor would have selected suitable techniques and drawn up a training plan tailored to the student's situation. And Fei Tai? He'd thrown over a card of dark energy and a manual and left. Whatever came after was evidently no concern of his. That much? Lu Sun took the card to a terminal to check it, and was genuinely startled. There were 10,000 units of dark energy on it. He hadn't expected the old man to be so generous. Comfortable. He put the card away, thoroughly pleased with his own judgment. Now, even if Chu Youqing's family kept her cut off indefinitely, he could keep her comfortably. Fu Shui has taken Lu Xinghe as her student. A few days later, Lu Sun learned of it by chance. The matter had set the campus network buzzing. Even at Beidou University it was rare to see a sixth realm power serving as an instructor, and Fu Shui was not far off the seventh, and a great beauty besides. Must she be an instructor at all? Lu Sun couldn't make sense of it. I hear Elder Fu Shui originally chose Lu Sun, and he refused, insisted on Fei Tai instead. She'd no choice but to switch to Lu Xinghe. Lu Sun. Which Lu Sun? Came up from Rongqing No. 1 Middle School, apparently. Opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins too, though the phenomenon he set off wasn't especially large. Why would Fu Shui choose an unknown like that? Is Lu Sun blind? Choosing Fei Tai as his teacher. He'll be in tears when the assessments come round. I just looked Fei Tai up. That's not merely unbothered, that's the Buddha himself. Lu Xun discovered that the news of him passing over Fu Shui for Fei Tai had spread across the campus network, with no end of first years discussing it. A good many had been curious in the first place about why Fu Shui had sought him out personally. Once the Fei Tai business broke, every student concluded that Lu Xun had simply lost his mind. How else could anyone do something so stupid? Ha, here I was working out how to surpass you, and you've gone and stabbed yourself twice over. In a training room, Lin Yan, most of a day into his practice, was delighted by the news. He'd chosen an instructor who also bore the red sun veins, a fifth realm grandmaster, and the man had proven thoroughly attentive, teaching Lin Yan a method for widening those veins. Lin Yan had been overjoyed, and had been training furiously ever since, the very picture of the protagonist in some inspirational film, studying hard, training harder, so that one day he might come back stronger and repay Lu Xun for his humiliation. And now Lu Xun had gone and chosen Fei Tai, which was simply tearing down his own defenses with his own hands. Does Lu Xun imagine that extraordinary veins alone solve everything, that he doesn't even need a decent instructor? At any other cultivation school, heaven and earth extraordinary veins would have been achievement enough, even without a good instructor, the other students would struggle to match him. But this was Beidou University. Here everyone had heaven and earth extraordinary veins, and the instructor's role became critical. Cultivation was a hard road, without supervision and guidance, a moment's slackness and others left you behind. People are lazy, after all. Lu Xun, are you all right? Li Bufan had got wind of it somewhere and came hurrying over, alarmed. What's supposed to have happened to me? I'm fine. Lu Xun batted away the hand reaching for his forehead. All right, is it? Why would you throw over a flower for a heap of cow dung? The whole school's queuing up to laugh at you. What flower? What cow dung? Fu Shui. A power of the sixth realm, once the loveliest woman in the capital, she came to you of her own accord and you turned her down. Li Bufan was heartbroken on his friend's behalf. What of it? Fei Tai is the genuine treasure, you simply don't know it. He gave me an earth-grade technique and taught me to practice it himself. Look. I've already entered the Qi-Si realm. Lu Xun stirred his true energy, and the air around him trembled. Li Bufan's eyes went wide as saucers. Brother Sun, you're incredible. He was thoroughly envious. He hadn't so much as opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins yet, and Lu Xun was already at the Qi-Si realm. Put like that, the lot of them are blind to real quality. Brother Sun, I've decided, once I've opened my heaven and earth extraordinary veins, I'm putting my name in for Fei Tai too. Li Bufan slapped his thigh, eyes shining. You've no chance. Teacher Fei said plainly that I'm the only student he'll take. Lu Xun talked him straight out of it. Fei Tai's treasure status applied to Lu Xun alone. If Li Bufan chose him, he'd have nothing to do but weep. Fine. I'm off to train. I'll open those veins yet, and then I'm surrendering myself to Fu Shui. A beauty like that, and you don't want her? I'll take her. Li Bufan tore off as though someone had jabbed him with a needle. You're in for a disappointment there. There was no option for Fu Shui on the instructor selection app at all. Once he'd gone, Lu Xun went back to lying flat. He'd discovered that where one lies flat makes a real difference. Lying flat at Rongqing No. 1 Middle School was nothing to lying flat at a school like Beidou University. The food here was streets better. The campus was enormous and beautiful, and pleasanter to wander. And there was the particular satisfaction of watching everyone else grind away at their cultivation day after day while his own climbed without him lifting a finger. Everything is sweeter by comparison. I wonder when Murong Wan will come to the capital. She'd been silent for days now. She'd been taken as a disciple by an elder of the Beidou Palace and would be trained at Beidou University, so she'd come sooner or later. Most likely the delay was Murong Zhan's injury, not yet fully healed. Chu Youqing hadn't messaged in days either, shut away, no doubt, working to open her meridians. Chu Youqing has broken through to the 10th level of body forging. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained from body forging. And there's the harvest. Chu Youqing's body forging had reached the 10th level, she'd been at the 9th, and had pushed through. 20-fold. Since binding a second person, the system's return multiplier had risen from 10-fold to 20. The rewards came heavier now. Lu Sun's own body forging climbed 4 levels at a stroke, to the 28th. Lu Sun, I've reached the 10th level of body forging and I'm going to open my meridians tomorrow. Shall we go along Qingbei Street this evening? Sounds good. He agreed at once. Qingbei Street ran between Qingshu College and Beida University, the first choice for students carrying on a romance across the two schools. Youqing, why is your mother following us? Ignore her. They had a tale, and it was Murong Wan. Mother and daughter were still deadlocked. The He family's terms had been very generous, the heaven-grade technique above all, and Murong Wan still leaned toward the match. But she hadn't forced her daughter. She had, however, bought a shop and rented a house on one of the streets between the two universities, plainly settling in to accompany her child's studies for the long haul. More precisely, to make certain Chu Youqing didn't walk her mother's road and turn up one day with a swelling belly to force the family's hand. Chu Youqing's supplementary card was still frozen. On enrolling at Qingshu College she'd received a subsidy of 1,000 units of dark energy. 1,000 units is a great deal to an ordinary person, but for real cultivation it falls far short, particularly for a genius who advances quickly. 10,000 units of dark energy. Lu Sun, is Teacher Fei really generous enough to hand over that much at once? I told you long ago he was a treasure of an instructor. Do you believe me now? All right. You've struck gold this time. Here. That's far too much. Take it when I tell you to. Once your meridians open, your need for dark energy will only grow. And if your cultivation doesn't come on, it proves you chose wrong in choosing me. You don't want your parents laughing at you, do you? Fine. But it's a loan. I'll pay you back when I have money of my own. Lu Sun pressed the card with its 10,000 units into her hand. Not far off, Murong Wan watched him do it, and anger flared in her eyes, because having passed over the card, Lu Sun took her daughter's hand. Rather like watching the cabbage you'd raised yourself being eaten by a pig. He slipped an arm around Chu Youqing's waist, and the two of them walked off down the street pressed close together, talking as they went, leaving the lovely Murong Wan behind to seethe. Miss, you look just like my first love. Might I add you on WeChat? Get lost. Mercy, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Some young man looking for a shortcut had become Murong Wan's punching bag, and found himself on his knees begging pardon under the sheer pressure of a third-realm warrior. Is your mother always so quick-tempered? She looks so young that people take her for my sister when we walk together. Back in Rongcheng, someone tried to chat her up every time we went shopping. Murong Wan did look young, though she was in her 40s, a life's experience had given her a poise no girl could match. Add to that her wealthy upbringing, her elegance, and her looks, and her effect on young men was rather like ordnance. The two of them spent the whole evening walking the street under Murong Wan's murderous gaze. Lu Sun, see you next weekend. At 8, Chu Youqing said goodnight and went back to Qingshu College. Having walked her to the gates, Lu Sun glanced back at Murong Wan trailing not far behind, and made his unhurried way back to Beida University. Xiao Bai. It's been a week. Where's the princess inside you? Late that night he woke Xiao Bai and turned her over, examining her from every angle. A week gone, and the princess seemed to have vanished altogether. Lu Sun found it rather less entertaining that way. Xiao Bai nuzzled at him affectionately. Well. That's not so bad either. Youqing. Let's begin. Yes, teacher. Early the next morning, Chu Youqing arrived at the training room ahead of time, ready to open her meridians. Dark energy is a complex thing. Use your spirit roots to filter it and store it in your dantian. When your lower abdomen feels warm and your dantian begins to swell slightly, you may strike at the first spirit vein. Her instructor supervised and guided her through the whole of it. With spirit roots, one could in fact cultivate directly. But the reason the word ancient was attached to ancient spirit roots was that arts practiced through spirit roots alone were essentially incomplete. Absorbing dark energy through spirit roots was also slow and inefficient. Dark energy held a great many components, and different cultivators drew on different ones. Martial cultivators could make use of far more of it than those on the immortal path, much more. Rather like fuel grades, a martial cultivator can run on almost anything, while an immortal cultivator can burn only the finest. Which is why immortal cultivators need so much more dark energy than martial ones. The benefit of opening spirit veins was that through them an immortal cultivator could take in far more dark energy, and cultivate correspondingly faster, the equivalent of fitting a turbocharger to one's spirit roots. Which is why even ancient spirit roots still needed meridians opened. Spirit veins differed from martial veins. They weren't the 8 extraordinary meridians, they were carved by the flow of dark energy through the body, and the veins formed in each person differed. The advantage of ancient spirit roots was that the veins took their shape from the roots themselves, the chance of opening them was a full 100%, and more of them could be opened besides. And the more spirit veins, the faster the cultivation. Chu Youqing drew out her dark energy and absorbed it, taking in through her ancient spirit roots every component she was able to use. Teacher, my lower abdomen is growing hot. Barely 10 minutes had passed. So soon. Her instructor, Qin Rulan, looked faintly startled. Qin Rulan possessed ancient spirit roots herself, and when she'd opened her own first spirit vein it had taken her over 40 minutes to draw enough spiritual energy out of the dark energy. Now use the breathing method I taught you. Guide the spread of the spiritual energy through your body and find the swiftest route. Chu Youqing did as she was told. It took very little time at all. Teacher, I found it. Good. Gather all of it, and strike with everything you have. Qin Rulan's voice rose an octave, shock plain in her eyes. The girl is simply born for the immortal path. She's far too fast. At the word, Chu Youqing marshaled her spiritual energy and drove it forward. And opened her first spirit vein without the slightest difficulty. Here it comes. At Beidou University, Lu Sun sat bolt upright. Chu Youqing had risen far too early, he hadn't been out of bed yet. At 20-fold, the surge of heat through his body was a great deal stronger than before. It poured into his dantian, then drove hard in a single direction. His first spirit vein opened. Once it had, the heat did as it had when his martial veins opened, battering back and forth through the new vein, widening it further and further. Before long the vein would take no more. Then the heat opened a second spirit vein. And a third. And a fourth. Why is it different this time? Lu Sun noticed the change. When a martial vein opened, the heat would circulate through it again and again until it was entirely spent. Spirit veins behaved otherwise, they seemed to have a limit to their width, and once a vein could widen no further, the heat simply went and opened a new one. Of course. Martial veins make use of the 8 extraordinary meridians already in the body. Spirit veins are made out of nothing, so it stands to reason their width is bounded. Forbidden to cultivate though he was, Lu Sun still made a point of learning the underlying theory, and turned up to a school course now and then. Even if he never practiced, he had to look as though he did, otherwise he might as well announce to the world that something was deeply wrong with him. And that would be asking for trouble. This world was not some harmonious, sunlit place where everyone loved and respected one another. If the system were ever exposed, forget the alien races, there was no telling how many humans would stop at nothing to get hold of him, and try every method going to strip the system away, or simply lock him up and study him. At last the heat in his body ran dry, having opened 5 spirit veins for him. In that single stroke, he'd surpassed nearly half the immortal cultivators alive. A great many of them go their whole lives without so much as 5 spirit veins. If they knew, the envy would be something to see. Chu Youqing has opened a second spirit vein. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained from the opening. The second return followed hard on the first. Chu Youqing has opened a third spirit vein. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained from the opening. Not long after, the third. The pace was scarcely slower than Murong Wan opening her martial veins, and spirit veins are markedly harder to open than martial ones, and normally far slower. That Chu Youqing could keep up such a rate said everything about her talent for the immortal path. Born for it, without exaggeration. Youqing, don't rush. Keep it steady, or you'll injure yourself. Yes, teacher. I have it in hand. At Qingshu College, Qin Rulan was growing uneasy. Chu Youqing was opening her spirit veins far too quickly, one after another, without pause. It left Qin Rulan impressed and more than a little alarmed. Opening one's meridians is genuinely dangerous work. Every year a great many people are injured doing it, and the worst of them are left unable to care for themselves. With spirit veins the risk is greater still. A martial vein at least runs along an existing meridian, which gives the force somewhere to go. Spirit veins are made from nothing, with no channel to fall back on, and injury comes far more easily. Qin Rulan didn't want the girl hurting herself through carelessness. Chu Youqing took the advice and eased off, though not by much. Her ancient spirit roots drew in dark energy too fast, the spiritual energy came in an unbroken stream, and she couldn't have slowed much further if she'd wanted to. The 4th. The 5th. The 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Controlled pace or not, within a few hours she'd opened 9 spirit veins in a single run. Youqing, here's the crucial part. Don't think about the heaven and earth chi vein yet, 9 spirit veins is nowhere near your limit. Those 9 are major veins. If you can open 9 or more minor spirit veins, you can link them into a spirit wheel, and there'll be time enough for the heaven and earth chi vein after that. Yes, teacher. Take this spirit will pill. It will help you open the minor veins. Qin Rulan's guidance came exactly when it was needed, and the pill with it. This is where an instructor proves worth having. Chu Youqing took the spirit will pill and carried on. Another vein opened, a minor one this time. Minor spirit veins are in fact harder to open than major ones, and carelessness injures you all the more easily, because it's so easy to put too much force through them. Rather like capillaries, which hold only so much, flood them and it would be stranger if they didn't burst. So Chu Youqing slowed down. Roughly half an hour to a vein now. Still going. At Beidou University, Lu Sun sat waiting on the harvest. Xiao Bai lay a little way off, watching him curiously. Every so often the energy in his body shook the air, and she didn't quite dare come closer, fond of him as she was. Morning to midday, midday to afternoon. Chu Youqing spent the entire day opening her meridians. Teacher, I think I've reached my limit. She'd found she could open no more veins in her body. How many altogether? Qin Rulan asked. 36. Good. Link them into a spirit wheel. Chu Youqing gathered her spiritual energy and drew the veins throughout her body together into a spirit wheel. Good grief. That many. Elsewhere, Lu Sun had taken stock of the spirit veins in his own body, and was staggered. 180 of them, major and minor together. 180 spirit veins. It was the sort of number that would terrify anyone who heard it, and it rather frightened Lu Sun himself. It wasn't only the number of spirit veins. As the last one opened, the remaining heat drew them all together into an enormous spirit wheel, one that linked every spirit vein in Lu Sun's body. With it, the The veins functioned as a single whole, and cultivation went faster. What if I actually cultivated? Feeling the sheer size of the spirit will inside him, Lu Xun couldn't help wondering. With a wheel like this, wouldn't he reach the fourth realm at 20, the fifth at 30, the sixth at 40? Generally speaking, whether martial or immortal, breaking through to the sixth realm takes decades at the least, centuries, sometimes, barring some extraordinary stroke of fortune. Not that fortune is unheard of. There are, for instance, the civilization tombstones along the ancient Star Road, what remains of worlds that failed to ascend a dimension. Such tombstones often hold inheritances and opportunities, along with a fair chance of dying in them. Anyone lucky enough to come away with a cultivation relic or a martial crystal rises overnight, and every tombstone makes a few fortunate souls. Though there are those who say that what isn't yours by right brings trouble in the end. One immortal cultivator once came away from a civilization tombstone with such a windfall that he climbed from the third realm to the sixth in a handful of years. Later it emerged that he'd been possessed, or his soul merged with another's. He fell into fits of split consciousness, his cultivation began sliding backward rather than rising, and in the end he lost himself entirely and ruined a brilliant future. The host is forbidden to cultivate by his own effort. Otherwise, each time Blue Star enters the ancient Star Road, the host will die. As though afraid he might fail to work it out and start cultivating anyway, the system supplied a timely warning. I'd hardly be that stupid. Lu Xun had only been musing. Lying flat was far too comfortable. Free time, and the liberty to do whatever he pleased, or nothing at all. Only a madman would cultivate. That should be the end of it, surely. He judged Chu Youqing's meridian opening must have run its course. Next she'd be preparing to open a heaven and earth extraordinary vein. Opening spirit veins is hard enough, extraordinary veins are harder still. You can do it, Chu Youqing. He had faith in his girlfriend. Youqing, why don't we leave it here? Come back tomorrow if you're tired. No, teacher. I feel now is the best moment for it. Very well. Take this Jia's Qi vein pill, it should help. Teacher, this is far too precious. It's nothing to me. At Qingshu College, Chu Youqing was genuinely moved. Qin Rulan had given her two extraordinarily precious pills, one after another. In the East, the Jia group's elixirs are famous, the body-strengthening pill, the meridian-opening pill, the Qi vein pill above all. Their effects are excellent and most people can't buy them at any price. For Qin Rulan, a fifth-realm immortal cultivator, obtaining them wasn't difficult, but for an instructor to give them away like this spoke of real regard. Having taken the Qi vein pill, Chu Youqing closed her eyes and began her assault on a heaven and earth extraordinary vein. There are many kinds of heaven and earth extraordinary veins, sorted by attribute, each attribute has several. Among the fire attribute ones are the red sun vein, the red lotus vein, the sky-burning martial vein, the crimson heaven vein, and others. Of these, the red sun and red lotus exist in both martial and spirit forms. Which extraordinary vein a cultivator can open depends on a great many factors. With spirit roots, it comes down to the root's attribute. Fire roots will generally bloom a fire attribute extraordinary vein, water roots a water attribute one. Even without spirit roots, anyone who opens 9 spirit veins has a slim chance at an extraordinary vein, though with considerable randomness to it. Chu Youqing's spirit root was top grade, with a peculiarity to it, it was attributeless. Which meant that, in theory, every kind of extraordinary vein in the world was open to her. Nobody could say which would emerge. Attributeless doesn't mean truly without attribute, of course. It may simply be a hidden attribute that current methods can't detect. Chu Youqing hoped for a fire attribute vein. The resources needed to cultivate one are comparatively easy to come by, and they're formidable in a fight. Her father might have frozen her supplementary card, but her mother had already procured the solar essence and fire crystals she'd need. Whatever her parents thought of their daughter being led astray, they were never going to abandon her future entirely. While opening her spirit veins, Chu Youqing had used a great deal of solar essence to refine them, making a fire attribute extraordinary vein easier to draw out. She hadn't needed to go and sit out in the sun the way Lin Yan had when opening his red sun vein. The training room here already gathered the surrounding sunlight, creating conditions ideally suited to the work. Qingshu College is the foremost institution in the country, that isn't an idle claim. Its facilities, in every respect, far outstrip those of other schools. Chu Youqing stood bathed in light now, her skin flushed red, eyes shut tight, drawing in solar essence and fire crystal with everything she had. Fire crystal comes from the ancient star road, and the energy within it is dark energy, not the ordinary sort found in the energy blocks used for daily power. The price is accordingly enormous, a palm-sized piece can run to hundreds of millions. And money alone won't buy it, it can only be exchanged for dark energy. Auntie, that's plenty, I can't eat any more. Xiao Lu, did you add my daughter? I did. She hasn't accepted yet. Elsewhere, Lu Sun had waited a long while without Chu Youqing opening her extraordinary vein, and concluded she wouldn't attempt it today. Being hungry, he went to the canteen. The canteens at Beta University are a rarity, the serving staff don't shake the ladle, and worry instead that you haven't taken enough. This particular auntie not only filled Lu Sun's tray to the brim every time, she kept trying to introduce him to her daughter. Xiao Bai, come and eat. Lu Sun set down a bowl of specially prepared rice for her. The reason he always queued at the ladle of the auntie with the daughter was simple, she quietly gave Xiao Bai a bowl of her own. Man and cat set to happily. Master Lu Sun's nothing but a country bumpkin. He got lucky, had some chance encounter, opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins. With your ability you could crush him underfoot. Halfway through his meal, Lu Sun heard his own name. He raised an eyebrow and looked over, two familiar faces. Lin Yan and He Xiao. Lin Yan was doing the talking, He Xiao was pumping him for information. Lu Sun's a piece of work. I've had enough of him for a good while now. I'll find a way to lure him off school grounds, and master he can teach him a lesson, who the hell threw that? Lin Yan was thoroughly enjoying himself when a shoe came whistling across the room and caught him square on the back of the head. He spun around, furious, and found Lu Sun. Lu Sun, was it you? It was your grandfather who threw it. Lu Sun cut him off and sent a second shoe at his face. If you're going to hit a man, hit him where it shows. Lin Yan saw this one coming perfectly clearly, and his brain assured him he could dodge it. The shoe was simply too fast. It caught him full in the face, left his nose and cheeks swollen, and printed a clear sole mark across the whole of it. Lu Sun. How dare you throw a shoe at me? Lin Yan was shaking with rage. The sole print on his face burned, and the strange looks from the students around him only made the shame worse. Lu Sun. He Xiao had spotted him too. The scene outside the cafe a few days earlier was still vivid in his mind. Lu Sun had hit him hard enough to bring up blood, and left him with internal injuries besides. A few days of medicine had very nearly healed them. He'd wanted revenge, which was why he'd sought out Lin Yan, who'd come up from the same school, hoping to learn something about Lu Sun's background. He hadn't expected Lu Sun to overhear. What's this? You're allowed to scheme against me behind my back, but I'm not allowed to teach you a lesson to your face. Lu Sun stood up barefoot. Xiao Bai cleverly retrieved the slipper he'd thrown, he rubbed her head and added, Mr. Lin. There's a price for talking about people behind their backs. You. In his fury Lin Yan very nearly demanded he take it to the ring, then remembered he was no match for Lu Sun. His expression shifted several times before he ground out, Lu Sun, don't imagine there's nothing I can do about you. Senior see justice done, teach this ignorant fool his place. That's enough. He Xiao cut him off, his voice cold. Lu Sun, you're arrogant indeed. But let me remind you, Article 3 of the school rules forbids private fighting in public areas. Senior The words caught Lin Yan entirely off guard. He'd expected He Xiao to put Lu Sun in his place. Instead, a second year at the fourth stage of the Qi Si was leaning on the school rules. It made no sense to him at all. Oh. Stepping in, are you? Lu Sun raised an eyebrow and turned the point on He Xiao directly. I'm a first year, you're a second year, so nobody can accuse me of bullying you. Come on. I'll see you in the ring. Lu Sun, you're courting death. Senior, agree to it, quickly. Lin Yan was delighted. That's He Xiao. He opened his red lotus vein at 18, and he's already at the fourth stage of the Qi Si. Who's this Lu Sun? A first year, challenging He Xiao. More and more students were turning to watch the confrontation, and the surprise spread as Lu Sun's words registered. A first year, calling out a second year to the ring. It baffled them. A first year with heaven and earth extraordinary veins challenging an older student who lacked them would be one thing. But He Xiao possessed extraordinary veins too, and his cultivation was well ahead. Either this first year was extraordinarily bold, or he simply had no idea what he was doing. Lu Sun, is that the Lu Sun who chose Fei Taiye? That's him. Ah, that explains it. Anyone who'd pick Fei Taiye is capable of anything. He's about to get thrashed. Once one student placed him, half the canteen understood at once. Such a shame. A face like that, and he keeps doing such ridiculous things, some of the older students said, genuinely sorry for him. Senior. Lin Yan, meanwhile, busy picturing Lu Sun's beating, found that He Xiao hadn't reacted at all. Looking closer, he saw the older student's eyes had gone dark, his expression shifting between grim and forced pleasant, as though he were struggling with something. It puzzled Lin Yan thoroughly. For a man at the fourth stage of the Qi Si with heaven and earth extraordinary veins, putting down a newcomer who's only just opened his meridians should be simple. Why is he taking so long? What is it? You don't dare. Lu Sun took a step forward, the challenge plain in his eyes. Lu Sun, I've no wish to bully you. Don't say that. I want you to bully me. Go on. Bully me. Lu Sun cut straight across whatever polite deflection He Xiao had been assembling. Lu Sun, don't push it. He Xiao's eyes blazed. He wanted his revenge badly, wanted to take it back on that same ground himself. But going over the fight afterward, he'd concluded that Lu Sun had beaten him through sheer footwork, and had resolved to train his own body technique until the gap closed. His injuries weren't fully healed, and his footwork was still nowhere near Lu Sun's. Which meant that, faced with the challenge, He Xiao genuinely didn't dare accept. What's going on? Why won't He Xiao even take the challenge? The watching students were bewildered, and Lin Yan's head was full of questions. Have I got the wrong script? Shouldn't He Xiao be accepting and beating him senseless? Why is Lu Sun pressing and He Xiao backing away, talking about not going too far? Something is wrong here. You're the second year, I'm the first year. Did I bully you? Lu Sun smiled. You. He Xiao was livid. What of me? You're a second year at the fourth stage of the Qi Si. Surely you're not afraid of a first year. Then Lu Sun shifted his angle. Ah, though a few days ago I do seem to recall beating you until you brought up blood. You lost. Did I break your nerve? An uproar went through the students. What? He Xiao was beaten bloody by Lu Sun a few days ago. Impossible. Senior. Lin Yan turned to look at him, disbelief written across his face. His instinct was that it couldn't be true. But the ink-dark look on He Xiao's face, confronted with the challenge, told him it very likely was. Damn it. He Xiao was choking on grief and fury. Lu Sun hadn't opened with the fight outside the cafe, he'd pressed him step by step into a thoroughly humiliating position first, and only then produced the truth. And by now the whole area was ringed with students. He did it deliberately. To shame me. You won at that only by relying on your footwork for a cheap shot. Lu Sun, wait until I've recovered. We'll settle it then. He Zhao's face had gone red and hot, he had to say something to save face. Fine. I'll be waiting. Lu Sun said it lightly. We're leaving. He Xiao couldn't remain another moment. He'd been thoroughly disgraced. So it's true. He Xiao really is that spineless. Isn't he fourth stage of the Qi Si? How does he lose to Lu Sun? Pathetic. You heard him, a cheap shot with footwork. Lu Sun's fresh out of a martial school and he pulled off a cheap shot like that. Either Lu Sun's remarkable or He Xiao's feeble. The talk carried after He Xiao as he went. Lu Sun. I'll have this back from you. He was angry enough to burst, and fled the canteen at speed. Senior, wait for me. The moment He Xiao left, Lin Yan glanced at Lu Sun, who appeared to be smiling, and didn't dare linger either. He chased after him with the soul print still across his face. Look at that. Did he fall on a shoe? Students burst out laughing at the sight of it. Lin Yan came apart entirely and scrubbed at his face, but the print had set into the skin and wouldn't come off so easily. In the end he could only cover his face and bolt across the campus, giving up on chasing He Xiao altogether, wanting nothing but his dormitory and something to get the mark off. On the way he blundered straight into a girl. He discovered soon enough that his portrait had been taken and posted to the campus network, along with a caption marveling that a man with a shoe sole tattooed across his face had gone lunging at a girl. He acquired a nickname out of it too, Shoeprint Man, Lu Sun. I will never forgive you. Lin Yan was utterly destroyed. Xiao Bai had enough. Mro. In the Beidou University canteen, Man and Cat finished their meal. Junior, could I get your contact? I need a sparring partner for my sword work. No, thank you. Lu Sun carried Xiao Bai out. Brother Lu Sun, any interest in joining our Ancient Road Expeditionary Corps? No sooner had he left the canteen than more students caught up with him. Ancient Road Expeditionary Corps. It's a club. More than a dozen of us have been into nodes on the Ancient Star Road. If you ever get the chance to set foot in the starry sky, we can go as a group. I'll think it over. Here's my card. Get in touch if you're interested. The student was one of the club's officers. Cultivation schools have no shortage of clubs, and they carry far more practical weight than the clubs at an ordinary school. If a chance arises to enter a node on the Ancient Star Road, for instance, the members can band together for safety. Lu Sun hadn't decided anything. At his present strength, even if Blue Star entered the Ancient Star Road again, he'd have no opportunity to set foot on a node. It was growing dark. Blue Star had long since left the solar system, but the length of its days and nights hadn't changed much from before. Lu Sun took Xiao Bai for a walk and turned in. Have you heard? That Lu Sun is genuinely something. He beat a second year at the fourth stage of the Qi Si until the man brought up blood. Is that true? Hasn't Lu Sun only just graduated? They say it was a cheap shot. That makes more sense, though even a cheap shot like that is impressive. I still don't understand why he chose Fei Taiye. Several students coming the other way happened to be discussing him. Word travels fast. Lu Sun checked his phone and found the post on the campus network sure enough. This was the liveliest stretch of the year for first years, so news moved quickly among them. Second years and above were mostly buried in cultivation and paid such things far less attention. Lu Sun, you're incredible. Making a fourth stage Qi Si cultivator cough blood, look after your brother, won't you? Have you opened your heaven and earth extraordinary veins? No. This dog of a body won't open them no matter what I try. I went out with a senior for some inspiration. Didn't you say senior students wouldn't so much as speak to you? Ah, well, I was young and ignorant. Lu Sun, you've no idea how good she smells, how soft her hands are. Li Buffon's messages were an education. Which senior could possibly have taken that fellow in hand? Murong, the little white cat stirred in his arms. And then the sky, dark a moment before, turned brilliant. Lu Xun looked up. The heavens were alight, rolling red cloud, red light seething across them. Out of that burning sky, enormous suns leapt one after another from a sea of fire like gods waking, until the whole capital was lit red. Each birth came with an earth-shaking phoenix cry, a phoenix of red gold beating its wings up out of the blaze, wheeling around each newborn sun along strange, intricate paths. A phenomenon. Look at the scale of it. Cries went up across the campus. In a place like the capital, thick with geniuses and powers alike, a heaven-and-earth phenomenon is hardly rare, not daily, but every few days at least, and sometimes several times in one day. Most of them, though, are limited in scope and nothing like this in force. This one was on another order, chiefly because of the suns. A common phenomenon runs to a single red sun rising, as when Lin Yen opened his red sun vein. This time the suns came up one after another as if nothing constrained them at all. Where suns are concerned, the more of them, the more astonishing the phenomenon, and the more monstrous the talent behind it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Students craned their necks to count them up. 6, 7, 8, 9. As the ninth rose out of the red flame, the entire capital seemed plunged into an end-of-days heat. The sky was no longer merely cloud but a boiling sea of fire, 9 brilliant suns hanging in it, each pressing down with a weight that stopped the breath. 9 great suns, that's the 9 luminaries. Red flame burning the sky, 9 suns hung aloft, the phoenix dancing in golden plumage. It's been an age since anyone saw the 9 luminaries. Overhead, several streaks of light had halted, staring at the 9 suns and exclaiming. And still the phenomenon didn't stop. The 10th sun rose in full view of the city. T10. One voice shook with something close to panic. Nor was that the end. The 11th rose, and the 12th. The 12 luminaries, the 12 luminaries. Across the capital, more figures could no longer sit still and rushed toward the phenomenon center. The 9 luminaries isn't the name of a particular vein. Extraordinary veins such as the red sun or the red lotus have grades of their own, open to their utmost, they too may trigger a 9 luminaries phenomenon. 9 is already extraordinary. 12 great suns meant the legendary 12 luminary sacred vein. Since Blue Star first set foot on the ancient star road, that phenomenon had appeared exactly once. Chu Youqing has opened the sky-burning scarlet phoenix vein. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained from the opening. The host is about to open a heaven and earth extraordinary vein. The phenomenon cannot be entirely concealed, a portion will manifest. As each sun climbed into the sky, Lu Xun collected his own returns. 13. The 13th emerged above the city. Nor was 13 the limit. 14, 15, 16, on to 17, and 18. A full 18 suns. In the headmaster's office at Qingshu College, an old man's teacup shattered on the floor. 18 luminaries, how is that possible? 18. Impossible. How can there be an 18 luminaries? The wave came from Beidou University. 18 suns climbing into the heavens was a staggering sight, lighting the capital brighter than noon. The city was thrown into uproar, and powers beyond counting were roused, streaks of light shot up and streamed toward Beidou University. 18 luminaries, no. This is a doubled phenomenon. High above, one powerful figure turned his gaze upon it and saw the truth at once, 2 people, not one, the 2 phenomena simply too close together to separate easily. Even so, 18 luminaries out of a doubled phenomenon was remarkable enough. The figure made a small sound of surprise. Because after the 18 luminaries, something further came. With a ringing phoenix cry, a phoenix of many colors rose into the sky, carrying an enormous golden sun upon its back. A phoenix bearing the sun. What vein is that? The figure above looked thoughtful. Let's call you the immortal phoenix vein. Very good, now I have a second life. At Beidou University, in an open space near the Qingshu College side, Lu Sun murmured it to himself. What Chu Youqing had opened was the sky-burning scarlet phoenix vein, the scarlet phoenix vein, for short. What came back to him at 20-fold, Lu Sun named the immortal phoenix vein. The particular quality of heaven and earth extraordinary veins is that they grant their bearer a special ability. The one the immortal phoenix vein granted Lu Sun was the power of rebirth from the ashes, which amounted to a second life. Lu Sun discovered that the newly opened immortal phoenix vein, under the surge of a 20-fold return, was fusing with the heaven and earth extraordinary vein he already had, joining to it, and gradually becoming a single vein. Which ought to have been impossible. The extraordinary vein he'd opened before was a martial vein. This one was a spirit vein. Could martial veins and spirit veins be merged at all? Heaven and earth extraordinary veins are formed by seizing the creative work of heaven and earth. They are best combined into one. Or they will readily draw heaven and earth's attention. As the host possesses the chaos divine body, and the first heaven and earth extraordinary vein carries chaos attributes. The merger will produce no conflict and will not impair the function of either vein. It will instead yield further wondrous effects. The prompt settled his worries. So I have Murong Wan to thank for it, for being the first bound. Murong Wan's exquisite treasure body, and her exquisite veins, could hold multiple energies. Energies, note. She could cultivate thunder attribute arts, fire attribute arts, ice attribute arts, and the rest. Every road in the martial world lay open to her. Unlike the red sun vein, where only fire attribute arts give their best result and anything else costs twice the effort for half the return. But it had to be the martial road. Murong Wan couldn't take the immortal one. That exquisite treasure body had returned to Lu Sun tenfold, and in becoming the chaos divine body it had been upgraded, from holding multiple energies to holding multiple powers. Which meant Lu Sun could walk the martial road, the immortal road, or another entirely. Had the first person bound to him not been Murong Wan, and had he lacked the chaos divine body, this would have been a real problem, because power compatibility would have become an issue. Little enough trouble at first, perhaps, but once he grew strong, an unsolved conflict of that kind turns fatal. Cultivating both immortal and martial paths sounds elegant and is desperately hard in practice. Some immortal cultivators train the body, but that's body refinement, the physical branch of the immortal path, not the same thing as the martial road at all. True dual cultivation of immortal and martial means opening both martial veins and spirit veins. It had been attempted on Blue Star before. One brilliant talent opened his martial veins and then forced his spirit veins open after. He grew as far as the fourth realm, at which point the imbalance of powers did him severe harm, and further progress became essentially impossible. The chaos divine body and chaos veins solved that problem perfectly. It's a doubled phenomenon. One at Qingshu College, one at Beidou University. The airspace over both universities is restricted. Do not approach. The cultivators arriving out of the sky had worked it out at last. The phenomenon had two sources. Streaks of light kept converging, but cultivators from Qingshu College and Beidou University rose to meet them and held the newcomers off, so most could only watch from a distance. So they're from the two universities. No chance, then. More than a few had come from other schools and factions hoping they might poach a student. Seeing where the phenomena originated, they knew there was nothing doing. Over here. Look above his head. Several students spotted Lu Sun and cried out. A phenomenon hung above his head as well, mirroring the one in the heavens, proof enough that he contributed to it. That looks like Lu Sun. What, the Lu Sun who chose Fei Tai as his instructor? Hasn't he already opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins? Why set off another phenomenon? The students were baffled. Quiet, all of you. A man in green came down out of the sky and put himself between them and Lu Sun. He'd been at the cafe, he and Lu Sun had met before. Principal Ning, didn't Lu Sun already open his heaven and earth extraordinary veins? How has he caused another phenomenon? Asked a student who knew him. If I'm not mistaken, he's opened a heaven and earth extraordinary vein among his spirit veins, the man in green said gravely. Spirit veins? You can open spirit veins after opening martial veins. Not merely that, he's opened extraordinary veins in both. What sort of monster is this? Principal Ning's words left the students reeling. Even at institutions like these, thick with prodigies, only a small number of students possess heaven and earth extraordinary veins at all, and none of the students standing here did. And Lu Sun had opened one on the martial road and then opened another on the immortal one. Even here, that was vanishingly rare. It was enough to leave a crowd of geniuses struggling to believe it. Lu Sun opened spirit veins and an extraordinary vein among them. Is that true? Is he really that absurd? If it's true, he may be the most monstrous talent in our year. The news spread through the students at speed, and shook the whole of Beidou University's student body. Great numbers of them began arriving, until the waterside pavilion was thoroughly blocked. The campus network and the student groups were livelier still. The picture's clear now. The 12 luminaries phenomenon was most likely the Qingshu College student, the 6 luminaries and the phoenix bearing the sun were Lu Sun. The extraordinary vein he opened must be a powerful one, though its scope falls well short of the Qingshu students. Someone had the latest. Even at a smaller scope, opening 2 heaven and earth extraordinary veins is astonishing. Quite. I haven't got one, and he has 2. I genuinely cannot understand why a talent like that would choose Fei Taiye. The students talked it over, thoroughly shaken. Damn him. How could he? The news left Lin Yen stunned. After being slapped across the face with a shoe sole, he'd spent the past days studying and training furiously, hoping one day to repay the humiliation. And now Lu Sun had gone and opened another extraordinary vein, an immortal path one at that. As if extraordinary veins were free for the asking. How is this possible? In a training room, He Xiao was caught off guard by the news as well. He'd been drilling his footwork, he had no heart to continue now. Genius? Madman, more like. A dissenting voice appeared in one of the student groups. That's Senior Su Feng. Senior Su Feng, what's your reading of it? Seeing the message, He Xiao seized on it and hurried to ask. Su Feng was a third year, and both his strength and his knowledge far outstripped He Xiao's. Extraordinary veins on both the immortal and martial paths, that requires dual cultivation of immortal and martial. It sounds magnificent. But since Blue Star set foot on the ancient Star Road, have you ever heard of anyone succeeding at it? Now that you mention it, no. I've never heard of a single one. Some immortal cultivators have extraordinarily strong bodies and can meet martial cultivators on even terms with physique alone, and their magic is formidable too. That's dual cultivation of Dharma and body. Both are immortal path. It isn't the same as immortal and martial. The group filled with talk. Senior Su Feng, are there real dangers in cultivating both? He Xiao asked quickly, afraid the conversation would wander. Of course. They're 2 entirely different systems of power. The immortal road emphasizes the primordial spirit, spirit as foundation, spiritual power as function. The martial road emphasizes the will, the body as foundation, true energy as function. If he means to cultivate both, the hardest problem is the conflict of powers. Through the first 5 realms it may be manageable. But once he breaks the 5th realm, if that isn't properly resolved, it's enough to kill him. Heaven and earth extraordinary vein sees the good fortune of heaven and earth itself. He's opened 2 at once. Does he imagine the way of heaven simply isn't watching? When his tribulation comes, it will be 10 times what others face. And a person's energy is finite. Cultivation is hard enough, reaching the summit of a single road is desperately difficult. Splitting his attention between two is building his own obstacles. Greedy for everything at once, I fear the ending. Su Feng laid out the hazards of dual cultivation at length and with evident authority. 10 times the tribulation. So he really is a lunatic. No, I still say he's a true genius. Aren't genius and madness the same thing often enough? Su Feng's words set the group arguing. Some held Lu Sun a genuine prodigy, others thought him reckless past the point of gambling with his life. That's a relief. He Zhao's heart settled somewhat at last. The discussion spread quickly from that group, and set the whole of Beta University's first-year cohort talking. Lu Sun had no idea yet that he'd set off a school-wide debate. Even if he had, he wouldn't much have cared. He was neither genius nor madman, merely an ordinary system host. He had troubles of his own just now. Namely, the lovely Fu Shui was back. Teacher Fu. Finding her bright eyes fixed on him without so much as a blink, rather as though appraising some rare treasure, Lu Sun began to feel distinctly out of his depth. Lu Sun. That heaven and earth extraordinary vein you just opened, is it a spirit vein? It is, teacher. You've opened both martial and spirit veins, and extraordinary veins in each. Talent like that is rare in this world. But do you know how dangerous it is? I feel quite all right, teacher. I have a technique that may solve the problem for you. The school's leadership are all present. From today I'll be your instructor, and I'll answer for you from here on. Fu Shui's voice rose, and her words came out firm and past arguing. Here we go again. Lu Sun's head swelled to the size of a pumpkin. Don't you already have a student with a star body? Why do you keep looking at me? Elder sister, you deserve better. Elder Fu. This really isn't decent of you. Fei Tai's lazy voice drifted in. Rescue. Teacher Fei, your timing is perfect. Teacher, you're here. How did my veins turn out? Lu Sun hurried over. Not bad at all. Fit to be a student of Fei Tai. The old man was all smiles. Having praised him, he produced a card and handed it across. There are 100,000 units of dark energy on that. Consider it a reward for opening your veins. And I'll give you another 20,000 every month from now on. I haven't much else, but dark energy I have plenty of. 100,000 units. The watching students' eyes very nearly left their sockets. Nor was it only the students, the teachers were envious too. Ordinary lecturers at these universities were generally third-realm cultivators, and 100,000 units was an enormous sum to them. Thank you, teacher. Lu Sun took it, delighted. Another advantage of choosing Fei Tai. His heart for the Tao was broken and he'd make no further progress as long as he lived, he simply drifted through his days without striving for anything. Which meant Fei Tai could accumulate dark energy. Any other fifth-realm grandmaster, however easily they came by it, would be burning it on their own cultivation. My good disciple. Your master must rouse himself as well, and see you made into someone worth being. I'll not have others laughing at what sort of master and disciple we are. Fei Tai's next sentence was rather less welcome. Teacher, not you as well. Go and exchange for some pills to strengthen the body first. Be at the training room in the Chinya building in 3 days. I'll supervise your training personally. It's over. He's turning over a new leaf. Yes, teacher. With teachers standing all around, Lu Sun could hardly show what he felt, and swallowed it whole. So be it. Seeing how matters stood, Fu Shui knew she'd lost again. She shook her head and quietly withdrew. Lu Sun turned Fu Shui down a second time and stuck with Fei Tai. Though Fei Tai was generous enough about it, 100,000 units. 100,000. Is it too late for me to pick Fei Taiye? Wake up. You haven't got heaven and earth extraordinary veins. What would you pick him with? Word that Lu Sun had refused Fu Shui twice spread rapidly, and this time, with Fei Taiye so generous, no small number of students envied him. Look, that's Lu Sun. That's Lu Sun. He's rather handsome. Lu Sun was now thoroughly famous on campus, and more people recognized him. Brother Sun, father, godfather, whatever you like, share one of those extraordinary veins with me. Li Bufan came running over, desperate for the secret. He'd grown so obsessed with opening his own extraordinary veins lately that he was very nearly out of his mind about it. 3 days went by in a blink. Chu Youqing sent word of her own good news during them, though the two didn't manage to meet. When the 3 days were up, Lu Sun made his way to the Chinya building early, looking thoroughly miserable. The building held a great many training rooms. Fei Taiye was already waiting in one of them. Lu Sun noticed he'd changed into new clothes and even trimmed his beard, for all the world like a man determined to turn his life around. Oh no! Lu Sun's heart sank. Teacher, what wine is in that gourd? It smells wonderful. Inspiration struck, and he got in first. This? Immortal's drunk. The finest spirit wine there is. I brew it myself, you couldn't buy it at any price. Fei Taiye looked thoroughly pleased. You brewed it yourself? No wonder the scent is so intoxicating. Teacher, might I try a little? Lu Sun let the longing show plain on his face. Have it. Fei Taiye tossed the gourd over. The moment Lu Sun pulled the stopper, a rich aroma filled the entire training room. That's excellent. He finished 1 cup and started straight on a second. Teacher, what did you brew this from? It's marvelous. Teacher, let me pour you one. Teacher, another. And so, in a training room, the two of them drank cup after cup in high good humor. Lu Sun, mind you train according to the schedule. Fei Taiye's head tipped over mid-sentence and he fell asleep, having remembered to order the training even as he went under. The chaos divine body really is remarkable. 1,000 cups and not a trace of drunkenness. Lu Sun wasn't the least bit affected. After a moment's thought, he found a thin blanket, covered Fei Taiye with it, dusted off his hands, and left. Cultivating was out of the question. Cultivating was out of the question for this entire lifetime. Lu Sun, you were gone when I woke yesterday. Where did you get to? Training my martial arts, teacher. Shall I show you? Fei Taiye came again the next day, and Lu Sun's head ached. He'd finally secured himself an instructor who couldn't be bothered, and then moved the man so deeply that he'd decided to apply himself. Who exactly do I complain to about this? Fortunately the myriad sect step was enough to fob him off. Teacher, is there any immortals drunk left? Lu Sun went back to the wine. Sure enough, Fei Taiye drank himself under again. Lu Sun, there's no record of this training room being used. Have you been idling? Certainly not, teacher. No need to look at me like that, I'm coming along in leaps. See for yourself, my myriad sect step has improved again. So it has. Though footwork alone won't do. This is the Taiye sword art, which I built from an unnamed sword manual. There are only 5 forms to it, I leave the rest for you to develop. Fei Taiye handed him a sword manual. Wonderful. Lu Sun was thoroughly overwhelmed. For the next 2 days he drank Fei Taiye insensible every afternoon, and every morning Fei Taiye arrived punctually regardless. Lu Sun regretted everything. Other instructors sent teaching assistants to supervise. Fei Taiye came himself. Every single day. Fortunately he had a few things held back and could keep up appearances. But it wasn't a solution. Teacher, wine this good, your wife must be the happiest woman alive. Since drinking wasn't working, Lu Sun tried another angle, raise something entirely off the subject. But the moment the words were out, Fei Tai's face changed. He picked up the gourd and drained it in one go. Come. Drink. He poured for Lu Sun himself. Did I say something wrong? The next day, Fei Tai didn't come. Nor the day after. Is it really that lethal? Sorry, teacher. Do go on being decadent. Lu Sun apologized, and felt thoroughly relieved. At last. I can lie flat in peace again. Comfortable. Fei Tai didn't come again for several days, which suited Lu Sun perfectly. This Tai sword art, I could pass it to Murong Wan. And the dark energy, let's see whether she needs any. Lu Sun had a great many good things in hand now. Looking over the Tai sword art properly, he found it profound and extraordinarily difficult. By comparison, the Earth-grade technique Fei Tai had handed him at the outset was nothing much at all by the standards of these universities. Techniques are graded heaven, earth, and yellow, heaven the highest, earth the second. Out in the wider world, Earth-grade techniques are precious things. But not everyone can practice one. If your martial and spirit veins aren't strong enough, taking on a technique pitched too high does more harm than good. Lu Sun had originally meant to give Chu Youqing the whole 100,000 units Fei Tai had given him. Her family had cut off her card in an attempt to force her hand. On reflection, though, he decided to send Murong Wan a share as well. The Murong family's position had been unsteady lately, and Murong Zhan had burned a great deal of dark energy on his recovery. Murong Wan might well be short herself. Half the holiday had gone and she still hadn't come to the capital. It looked as though she wouldn't arrive until term began. Lu Sun carried on lying flat. Chu Youqing messaged every few days with news of herself. She was cultivating with everything she had, meaning to reach the second realm before term started so that she'd draw more dark energy after the opening cultivation assessment. Elixirs, spiritual objects and other resources could all be exchanged for dark energy in any case. Dark energy served both as fuel for one's own cultivation and as currency among cultivators. Nothing unusual from Xiaobai. Lu Sun wasn't troubled about it. He lay about at his leisure day after day, dropping in on a theory class now and then, or putting in an appearance at a training room. Ha! Lu Sun, your brother Fan has opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins. A week later, following a phenomenon in the heavens, Li Bufan came to report the good news, thoroughly delighted. He'd managed it at last. His extraordinary vein was called the Xianhuang martial vein, an earth attribute vein favoring defense and raw strength. Lin Yan. Come on, then. Your brother will even let you strike first. You asked for it. The moment his veins opened, Li Bufan went straight off to find Lin Yan and challenge him in the ring, the school's place for contests and exchanges. The phenomenon Li Bufan's Xianhuang martial vein had set off was larger in scope than Lin Yan's had been. But Lin Yan had spent the intervening days widening his red sun vein, and with the weight of a red sun strike behind him he felt entirely confident of winning. With a crowd of students watching, the two of them went at it back and forth, to considerable entertainment. That fellow. Lu Sun watched the match too. It made for an interesting bout. Li Bufan did nothing but defend, Lin Yan nothing but attack. Once Lin Yan had worn himself out, Li Bufan attacked and settled it in a single blow, knocking him clean off the platform. Not satisfied? Is turtling all you can manage? You couldn't break my guard and you're still barking. The fight over, the pair set to arguing. Lin Yan wasn't having it. He couldn't beat Lu Sun, and now he couldn't beat Li Bufan either. Hey, isn't that shoeprint man? That's him. Just as he was sunk in his own gloom, a girl in the crowd recognized him. Ha! So you're shoeprint man. Are you trying to make me laugh myself to death so you can inherit my slippers? Li Bufan crowed. I'll kill you. Lin Yan detonated on the spot. Brother Lu. There's a lead. The day after Li Bufan opened his extraordinary veins, a message arrived, from the dark web killer, Luo Dasheng. Go on. The man who wants you dead is in Rongcheng. He has history with you, and he knows you visit the martyrs' cemetery regularly. He's raised his price lately, the commission's up to 30,000 units of dark energy. Be careful. At that price you'll tempt a third realm cultivator. 30,000 units. No small sum. It really might tempt a third realm cultivator, particularly one who'd spent years and effort getting there. Li Sheng. Luo Dasheng's words settled it for Lu Sun. The man who wanted him dead could only be Li Sheng, who had taken everything he owned. Having learned that Lu Sun had opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins, he was evidently afraid Lu Sun would rise and come for him one day, and meant to kill him first. Chu Youqing has broken through to the second realm. Host gains 20-fold what Chu Youqing gained. 2 days later, Chu Youqing broke through, and Lu Sun took his 20-fold return. The second realm of the immortal path is Qi gathering, drawing dark energy in through the spirit veins and converting it to spiritual power in gaseous form. With enough of it, one opens a spirit palace in the Dantian and breaks through to the second realm. The stage resembles its martial equivalent, though the nature of the power differs. As the spiritual power kept rising, an enormous spirit palace opened in Lu Sun's Dantian, and the power poured into it. Unlike the martial road, spiritual power isn't compressed and refined by the palace itself, the spirit palace is only storage. Refining the power further is work the immortal cultivator must do personally. Unless one has a spirit wheel, in which case it's far simpler. Circulated through the wheel, spiritual power can be compressed with the help of the minor spirit veins, growing steadily more refined, to mist, to half-liquid, to liquid, and at last condensing into a pill, at which point one steps into the fifth realm, the mysterious pill realm. The first 5 realms of immortal cultivation revolve chiefly around spiritual power. For Lu Sun the process was considerably simpler, he needed to do nothing at all. The surge of heat handled everything by itself. The spiritual power in his body kept accumulating, and once his spirit palace could hold no more, its density began to climb. His strength rose from the first stage of Qi gathering to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, stopping at the 6th. 20-fold really was another matter entirely. Murong Wan's breakthrough had carried him only to the 3rd stage of the Qi Sea. Chu Youqing's took him to the 6th stage of Qi gathering. And it's worth remembering that Lu Sun was stronger than other cultivators at the same realm, on both roads alike, which meant he had to pay more than they did to advance a stage. Each stage also grew markedly harder than the last. That he still reached the 6th stage of Qi gathering says everything about what a 20-fold return is worth. That single stroke was the equivalent of half a year's hard training for a peerless genius, 1 or 2 years for an ordinary genius, and several years for an ordinary immortal cultivator. Lu Sun, I've broken through to the second realm. Chu Youqing rang on video, delighted. Congratulations. Shall we meet on Qingbei Street tonight? She'd been missing him a little, she'd spent the last fortnight training without pause. Good. As it happened, Lu Sun had dark energy to give her. Dusk came down over the capital and the lights came up one by one, neon running between the buildings like colored streams. Beneath 3 moons, headlights drew long gold tracks along the avenues, and the whole city woke slowly into the night, glowing with a soft, prosperous haze. Lu Sun. At the gates of Beta University, Chu Youqing came running up and took his hand without a thought. That's Lu Sun. His girlfriend's lovely. A student who knew him happened to see it. What, Lu Sun has a girlfriend? Calm down. What's wrong with a girlfriend? Without one you'd be competing against half the school. With one you only have to compete against her. A girl was explaining the mathematics of it to her friend, entirely serious. She's beautiful. How am I supposed to compete with that? You don't compete on beauty, do you understand? On what, then? Presence. Get away with you. The two of them dissolved into a mock scuffle. Lu Sun and Chu Youqing walked hand in hand onto Qingbei Street. Term was very nearly upon them, and the past few days had filled the street with couples. Qingbei Street was almost entirely students in pairs, anyone single needed a strong stomach to walk it. Is your mother still here? Ignore her. Murong Wan was indeed still there. The shop she bought sold trinkets brought back from the ancient Star Road, moonstone bracelets, star sand necklaces, Star Trek lovers' knots, moondew earrings, and the like. There were broken star vials as well, little glass bottles of stardust that shifted color with temperature and gave off a faint blue glow when cupped in the palm, as though a thread of the galaxy had been caught inside. For all that the goods came off the ancient Star Road, they weren't especially dear. Students from the two universities could generally afford them, and they made fitting gifts between couples. And with a proprietress as striking as Murong Wan, business grew brisker by the day. Her real purpose, of course, was keeping watch on Chu Youqing. The moment Lu Sun and Chu Youqing appeared, she left the shop and fell in behind them. Chu Youqing's policy toward her mother remained, pay her no attention. In fact, purely to needle her, she pressed closer to Lu Sun and laced her fingers through his. Murong Wan seated a good 10 paces behind. Lu Sun, I heard you've opened spirit veins as well. Do you mean to cultivate both immortal and martial? But they say cultivating both is very dangerous. It's fine. Don't worry about me, just look to your own training. All right. I believe you. Chu Youqing had heard the talk about him too, and had an inexplicable confidence in him. That's a great deal. It's what Teacher Fei gave me. More than I can use. Your cultivation burns through it, take it. All right. I'll pay you back. Lu Sun handed over 80,000 units of dark energy. Chu Youqing produced a small notebook, wrote the amount down, and only then accepted the card. Glancing over, Lu Sun saw she was keeping a record of everything he'd given her. That girl. Which was no bad thing. She wasn't the sort who simply took. If he'd refused to let her keep the ledger, she'd never have been easy about it. So he's gone full lackey. Wandering on, Lu Sun spotted Li Bufan at a distance, strolling happily along the street with a pretty older student, the same Li Bufan who'd once sworn he'd never fawn over anyone. He bought her drinks, bought her gifts, and crouched down to tie her shoelace. Shameless. Even Lu Mei, for all the trouble she'd taken to hide things, had never had that out of Lu Sun in 3 years. Then again, fawning or not, the boy did seem to be making excellent progress. Before long he'd bundled the senior into a taxi. At least he isn't embarrassing his adoptive father. Lu Sun and Chu Youqing wandered until late, ate a midnight snack, and parted. Murong Wan watched over them the entire evening, played the unwanted third the entire evening, and sulked the entire evening, and would go on sulking tomorrow, and very likely the day after. Having walked Chu Youqing back, Lu Sun glanced behind him and found Murong Wan glaring at him from 10 meters off. A woman that beautiful only grew more striking when she was angry. After a moment's thought he walked toward her, meaning to say that she needn't watch him like that. He had no intention of dragging Chu Youqing off to a hotel. But Murong Wan was in no mood to speak to him at all. She gave him a single snort and went back into her shop. Fair enough. Come on, Xiao Bai. Home. He carried the cat back to Beidou University. Term's nearly here. Why hasn't Murong Wan come, and why no word from her? Murong Wan has broken through to the second stage of the Qi Si. Host gains 20-fold what Murong Wan gained. His curiosity was answered that same evening with a harvest. That was quick. It had been little over a month since she'd broken into the Qi Si realm, and with the Murong family's recent troubles pulling her attention every which way. Good grief. Lu Sun's martial cultivation began climbing rapidly, running from the 3rd stage of the Qi Si and stopping at the 8th. 5 stages in a single stroke. The gain looked smaller than what Chu Youqing's breakthroughs had given him, but the higher one climbs, the harder each stage becomes. 8th stage of the Qi Si before term has even started. What happens when they measure me? Do I get treated as a monster? He clicked his tongue. 8th stage of the Qi Si on the martial road, 6th stage of Qi gathering on the immortal one. Said aloud, it would frighten a great many people to death. No. I can't show all of it, or I'll certainly be noticed. 3rd stage of the Qi Si for the martial road, and 1st stage of Qi gathering for the immortal, that's enough. There would be a cultivation assessment once term formally began, and the school would allocate monthly dark energy according to the result. There were grades within that, too. At the same realm, the gap between 1st and 2nd grade was considerable. Nor could he conceal everything, some progress had to be shown, and shown gradually. It had been over 2 months since he first opened his meridians, so a 3rd stage on the martial road and a 1st on the immortal would sit plausibly. He wasn't strong enough yet to draw attention, better to stay low. His spirit veins were barely a fortnight old, and letting anyone see his true cultivation would make a target of him. Quite apart from the risk of exposing the system, it would be fatal if some more formidable instructor decided to take him in hand. That'll do. He rubbed Xiao Bai's head, his plan settled. Mro, she butted at him out of habit. The princess inside her seemed to have vanished entirely, and there was no telling when she might surface again. 2 days later. Murong Wan waited at the gates of Qingshu College in the morning. A few minutes on, Chu Youqing came out. Youqing. I'll take my own car. She got straight into a waiting rideshare. Murong Wan's expression froze on her face. Once her daughter had gone, she sighed and drove to the airport. Today was the day Murong Wan arrived in the capital, and as her elder sister, Murong Wan naturally had to meet her. Auntie. 2 hours later, in the arrivals hall, Chu Youqing threw herself happily into Murong Wan's arms. There were only a few years between them, and the two had always been close. Murong Wan was elegantly turned out today and drew no shortage of attention. With Chu Youqing and Murong Wan beside her, the three of them together became the focus of the entire hall. Wanner, you've been on that flight for hours. Are you tired? I'm all right, sister. Term doesn't start until tomorrow. Why not stay with me tonight? It's rare for us to have time alone, we can talk properly. All right. Once Chu Youqing had finished with her, Murong Wan came forward with the invitation. There were more than 10 years between the two sisters, and their relationship had never been as easy as Chu Youqing's with her aunt. Murong Wan accepted all the same. Murong Wan's here. Lu Sun read the message from Chu Youqing. Murong Wan had come to the capital. In the 2 months since her meridians opened she'd gained a great deal, broken through the 2nd realm and reached the 2nd stage of the Qi Si, and that with the Murong family's troubles pulling at her attention the whole time. Now that she was in the capital and could give herself entirely to cultivation, her strength ought to climb quickly. Which means my own martial cultivation will be rising again before long. Goodbye, Auntie. I'll come with you to the school tomorrow. Elsewhere, Chu Youqing was saying her farewells. Murong Wan was faintly puzzled, why hadn't Chu Youqing gone to her mother? She didn't yet know that mother and daughter had grown distant over Lu Sun. Murong Wan took up her duties as elder sister and spent the whole afternoon shopping with Murong Wan for the things she'd need, meaning to see them delivered to the school the next day. I'll be living in the capital for a good while now. If school grows tedious, come over whenever you like. We haven't talked like this in years. Murong Wan's eyes filled with remembering. She took her sister's hand, and the two of them fell to talking. She said a great deal. How she'd loved carrying Murong Wan about on her back when they were small. How Murong Wan had trailed after her once she was older. How, a few years after Chu Youqing was born, Murong Wan had doted on the baby and pushed her pram everywhere. As she talked, the memories surfaced in Murong Wan as well. Childhood is always lovely. The world was simpler then, and what lay between sisters purer. And precisely because there's no going back, the memory is precious. So the two of them talked late into the night, Murong Wan doing most of the talking, Murong Wan listening. Sister. Has something come between you and Youqing? After so long baring their hearts to each other, the question came easily. Yes. Murong Wan had been waiting for exactly that opening. The moment it came, she launched into the subject of Lu Sun, grave-faced. Lu Sun. She didn't notice how complicated her sister's expression turned at the name. He had, after all, been Murong Wan's first man. And barring the unforeseen, her last. Since opening her exquisite veins, Murong Wan had resolved to give herself wholly to cultivation and think no more of such things. However far I rise in the years to come, I'll not marry. Wanner, you know how much background matters in the world as it is. Lu Sun has no parents and no family behind him. If Youqing goes with him, she'll only make her own life hard. Murong Wan sighed. But sister, hasn't Lu Sun opened his heaven and earth extraordinary veins? Not only that. Half a month ago he opened spirit veins as well, and a second extraordinary vein among them. Has he? That did surprise Murong Wan. She'd been in Rong City and hadn't heard. By the look of it he intends to cultivate both immortal and martial. Without that he might have had a future, choosing it is simply destroying himself. Dual cultivation is far too slow, and nobody has succeeded at it since the new era began. Murong Wan had no faith in him whatsoever. Murong Wan was quiet. She hadn't expected him to take that road either. Dual cultivation genuinely is difficult, leaving everything else aside, the sheer slowness of it puts one far behind. Wanner, with him as he is, isn't it a mistake for Youqing to stay with him? A few seconds passed before Murong Wan answered. Sister, it's natural for the young to fall in love. I don't think Lu Sun is as bad as you say. Why not respect Youqing's choice, and watch a while before you decide? Murong Wan was slightly taken aback. Why does it sound as though my sister is speaking for him? Wanner, you don't know how generous the He family's terms are. A heaven-grade technique, and resources beyond counting. If Youqing married into them she'd soon surpass our own father. And set against that, what does Lu Sun have? Sister. I still think you should respect Youqing. Murong Wan wasn't to be talked round. I haven't forced her. I simply have a feeling that following Lu Sun will ruin her. The man doesn't strike me as reliable in the least. Murong Wan caught her sister's hands, her eyes pleading. Would you help me? Let's uncover Lu Sun's true face together, so that Youqing gives him up. Help? Murong Wan had no idea what she meant. Still, with her sister begging like this, refusing outright seemed unkind. Sister, tell me what you need. If I can help, I will. Murong Wan brightened at once. It's very simple. A honey trap. A honey trap. Just so. You seduce Lu Sun for me. If he takes the bait, if he's moved by you, Youqing will see him for what he is and be rid of him. Murong Wan laid out the plan. Sister, you're beautiful, the loveliest woman in Rong City. I was never your equal. There's no counting the men there who dream of you. If you make the attempt, Lu Sun will certainly. She couldn't stop herself elaborating, evidently picturing Lu Sun losing his composure entirely, and her daughter's crushing disappointment following on, and Chu Youqing at last falling in with her arrangements. She didn't notice how shaken and complicated her sister's face had become. Wanner, don't worry. I'm not asking that anything actually happen. I only want his true face brought out. Taking her sister's expression for anxiety, she hurried to reassure her. Sister. Youqing is your daughter. Is this appropriate? To Murong Wan's mind, Lu Sun wasn't so bad. He and Chu Youqing might be poorly matched at present, but that would resolve itself if he grew. Why was Murong Wan so set on breaking them apart? And by this method, with herself as the bait. when what was most intimate had already passed between her and Lu Sun. I'm thinking of her future. Nothing good will come of her following him, Murong Wan said, certain of it. Murong Wan shook her head. No, sister. You're thinking of the Chu family's future. You know. Murong Yan's expression changed, and then she rallied. That factor exists, I grant you. But I also sincerely want what's best for Youqing. Murong Wan sighed. Sister, I've looked up to you since I was a child. But you're wrong in this, and I can't help you with it. I'm tired, I'll go and rest. She rose and went toward the other bedroom. At the door she turned back and said, quietly. I won't tell Youqing about tonight. And let me offer you some advice in return. Youqing's spirit roots have awakened and she's opened the 12 luminary sacred vein. There's no ceiling on what she may become. Be patient. Wait a few years until she's grown, and every one of these problems will solve itself. Then she went in. Left alone, Murong Wan sat down heavily. She stayed in the sitting room a long while, her expression shifting, struggling with something. She had, in fact, been working at this for some time. The pretty girls who kept appearing around Lu Sun to make their interest known, for instance, that was Murong Yan's doing. With enough money one can find a girl willing to help even at the 2 universities. She'd wanted to test him. If Lu Sun lost his footing, the problem solved itself, and she'd have spared her daughter a worthless man besides. But Lu Sun was unmoved. He didn't so much as glance at them. Murong Wan concluded the girls simply hadn't been pretty enough, or remarkable enough, nothing beside Chu Youqing. Which was what had brought her sister to mind when Murong Wan arrived. And her sister wouldn't cooperate. Nor could she recruit the truly outstanding young women of Beta University. Yet apart from this, she could think of no other way to make Chu Youqing leave him. I can hardly have him killed. She couldn't have done such a thing regardless. Whatever else was true, Lu Sun's parents had saved Chu Youqing's life. However much she cared for the Chu family's future, she wouldn't repay a debt like that with treachery. Slowly, whatever it was she'd been turning over, her expression firmed. Late at night, Lu Sun lay sound asleep on the wide, soft bed. Xiao Bai was curled on his chest like a snowball of milk-white fur, sleeping deeply. The evening breeze stirred the curtains, letting a pale red moonlight into the room. Then Xiao Bai's eyes opened. They were still her eyes. But anyone looking at her in that moment would have felt they weren't looking at a cat at all. They were looking at a person. I am furious. He actually had me, a princess, carry his shoes to him. What right has a lowly creature like you to share a bed with this princess? And he takes me with him to the bathroom. Wretched human. I'll kill you. After a few seconds of stunned silence, murder filled Xiao Bai, and her small claws gleamed cold as she lunged at Lu Sun. Just before they landed, a strong hand appeared and plucked her out of the air. A month, then. Lu Sun sat up in bed. The princess hadn't surfaced in some time, and he'd guessed the interval was a week, a fortnight, or a month. Sure enough, exactly a month since the last. Release me, stupid human. Xiao Bai struggled now that the princess had returned. Lu Sun set her down. Princess Barbara. We meet again. Could you possibly be a little less ferocious next time? Of her enormous string of names, Lu Sun had retained only the 3 syllables of Barbara, which happened to resemble a name from any number of old films and games. The similarity was purely in the sound, of course. What this princess meant by it likely had nothing to do with any Barbara on Blue Star. You wretched human. You are no longer permitted to bathe with me, nor to sleep with me, nor to carry me into the bathroom, and above all, you are no longer permitted to make me hold your slippers in my mouth. Barbara raised a paw and delivered all 3 prohibitions with great seriousness. None of that is my doing. Think about it, didn't you do every one of those things yourself? Lu Sun spread his hands. Loathsome. Casting her mind back, Barbara found that she had, in fact, done them herself. Even at bath time, Xiaobai, seeing Lu Xun going to wash, would trot into the bathroom after him and demand to be washed too. Xiaobai was simply the body's instinct while the princess's consciousness slept. Which meant the body, left to itself, felt particularly close to Lu Xun. Wretched creature, Barbara thought, and her head ached. Enough. My time is limited, so I shan't belabor it. I'm going to teach you a spell, a reward for your service these past days. Learn it, and I may grant you something better next month. Business, at least, she could be brisk about. A spell. An incantation. It is the ultimate weapon of we of the Astra. Only the royal house possesses spells of this order. Were this princess not reduced to her present state, you would never have been permitted to learn one. That precious? Then I'd better not. Lu Xun showed very little interest. What good is it, when the system won't let me cultivate? This spell can hold a person motionless for a time. How long depends on the gap in strength between you. Even a brief moment can save your life, or turn a battle at the decisive instant. Are you truly not going to learn it? He hadn't wanted to. Barbara talked him round. I don't care for hard work like cultivation, Lu Xun said, shaking his head. Foolish human. This is not cultivation. It is learning a single sentence. She was thoroughly annoyed by his lack of enthusiasm. Fine. Teach me, then. Now he was interested. One sentence, and a man can't move. Rather like the immobilizing arts out of the old stories, though not so elegant, admittedly. Those take a word, this takes a whole sentence. Still, since it wasn't cultivation, there was no harm in learning it. Skills cost nothing to carry. Attend closely. This princess is about to recite. Hold on. Lu Xun took out his phone and started recording. Go ahead. The spell cannot be recorded. You waste your effort. Barbara sneered. Then she uttered a long string of syllables, strange and musical. Did you retain it? Lu Xun played the video back. There was, sure enough, no sound at all. Again. He genuinely hadn't retained it. She recited it a second time. And now? Not yet. How dull-witted you are. Barbara was obliged to repeat it several times more before Lu Xun could finally say it back. Why didn't it work? He'd recited it and nothing whatsoever had happened. You aren't of the royal blood, simply saying it achieves nothing. This is the magical diagram, I've drawn it for you. When you recite, you must voice it with magic. Which is to say, you make the sound by vibrating magic itself. Do you understand? As she spoke, her claws had traced several extraordinarily intricate figures onto the wall. Magic? Where am I supposed to get magic? Lu Xun had none. Magic was a power belonging to Western mages. Ah, how did I overlook that? Then this is troublesome. If you are ever in danger, you may use my blood, Murong. Barbara was halfway through when her voice reverted to a cat's. Murong. After several attempts she gave up. And then, as before, the intelligence went out of her eyes, the vivid expression drained away with it, and she was simply a cat again. Simply Lu Xun Xiaobai. Murong, she sprang into his arms and pressed against him. You came over all by yourself this time. Lu Xun gathered her up and studied the figures Barbara had left on the wall. He had, as it happened, retained the incantation. The diagrams were another matter, far too intricate, and with neither magic veins nor magic in his body, he couldn't make the slightest sense of them. After a moment's thought, he took out his phone and photographed them. What did she mean at the end? That I could use her blood to cast it? He stroked Xiaobai, thinking it over. Xiaobai was Barbara. Using her blood might genuinely work. I'll try it if I'm ever truly in danger. Xiao Bai was so well behaved that he couldn't bring himself to take her blood for an experiment. If he ever met something he couldn't handle, it would be soon enough to try then. The next day, registration day at Beidou University. Most students had reported early, but a good number chose to come now, and the senior students who'd gone home over the holiday returned today as well. The rules at these universities were strict. Holidays were one thing. Once term formally began, attendance was checked daily. Look at her. My father was right. These universities really are full of beautiful women. A figure had drawn the attention of half the students on the path. It was Murong Wan. She'd refused Murong Yan's offer of a lift that morning and come in alone. Today she wore a fine white dress, the sunlight moving through her hair, her skin clear as snow. Her walk carried a cool, unhurried elegance, and the plainness of her clothes only made her otherworldly air more striking. Students slowed as they passed, boys and girls alike, caught by the sight of her. She'd had no cultivation at all before, and even so had outshone every woman in Rongcheng and been called the loveliest there. Reputations like that aren't won for nothing. Junior, you're a first year, aren't you? Let me take you to register. One senior student got there first, crossing the distance in a few strides. Murong Wan looked young enough to be mistaken for a new student. No, thank you. She refused evenly. You've a great deal with you, it'll be awkward upstairs. Let me help you move it. There was indeed a great deal on the trolley following her, one of the smart trolleys that tracks its owner automatically. Quite right, Junior, you've far too much, and the lifts in the dormitory building aren't large. Let us help. More seniors were arriving. No, thank you. Murong Wan was beginning to lose patience. Miss. Sister. There you are. The senior was cut off. Murong Wan turned to find Lu Sun. He smiled at her, then at the assembled seniors. I'm here now, so there's no need to trouble yourselves. You're her brother. Their enthusiasm was undimmed, none of them recognized him. Not by blood, as it happens. Lu Sun gave them a slow blink. Ah. Of course. Do excuse us. They took his meaning and stopped pestering her. The two of them walked in silence for a while before Murong Wan spoke first. Lu Sun, thank you for the medicine you sent. My father's poison has been cured. I didn't have your contact details, so I couldn't thank you properly. Not at all. I hadn't expected it to work so well. Speaking of which, let's exchange contacts. He said it smoothly enough. He didn't have hers, and it would be convenient. A few seconds passed before she took out her phone. Scan me. Is your father nearly recovered? Essentially healed, though the old injury still troubles him. Your father's a wealthy man. Can't he simply buy something for it? The old injury damaged his dantian. The elixir that would cure that outright is beyond what my father can afford. That caught Lu Sun's curiosity. An elixir a fourth realm grandmaster can't afford? Though it made sense on reflection. The higher the grade of an elixir, the more precious its materials. Even the meridian opening pill, used at the very first realm, was extraordinarily expensive. Something capable of fully mending a fourth realm grandmaster's dantian would be rare indeed, and there likely weren't many alchemists able to refine it. Murong Wan drew no shortage of attention along the way. There were plenty of beautiful women at these universities, but few to match her, and no small number of the older boys were working up the nerve to approach. This was where Lu Sun's role as escort proved its worth, without him she'd have been stopped a dozen times over. She noticed, and was quietly grateful. Auntie. Why are you here so early? Chu Youqing arrived. She'd gone to collect Murong Wan and found she'd already set out, and had followed after. Lu Sun, you're here too. I happened to see your aunt and helped keep the flies off. Chu Youqing thought nothing of it. She took Murong Wan's hand and chattered away. The two were close enough in age to have no shortage of things to talk about. Standing side by side, one was like a cherry blossom newly opened, the other like a rose in full bloom, quite different, and equally striking. "Auntie, you've brought so much. Thank goodness for Lu Sun. Youqing, I'll leave you here. I'm eating with my aunt this afternoon. You won't come?" "No, I've something to see to." "All right." An hour later, the last of Murong Wan's things had been moved into the dormitory, and Lu Sun took his leave. My girlfriend, he reflected, may be a little slow. Has Chu Youqing genuinely forgotten that night already? Shouldn't she be keeping me and Murong Wan well apart, rather than throwing us together? It had been Chu Youqing herself who arranged the drugging that led to Lu Sun and Murong Wan's night together. Truly a bit of a disaster, my girlfriend. Unfortunately, he hadn't found any opening to pass Murong Wan the dark energy or the sword art. Given how things stood between them, handing over gifts wasn't simple, it would have to wait. "Lu Sun, someone's asking for you." He'd barely left the dormitory building when the student affairs office rang. "Someone asking for me?" "May I ask who it is?" he said, once he'd arrived. "It's me, Lu Sun." A familiar voice. He turned. It was Murong Yen. She wore a fine moon-white cheongsam today, elegant and composed, with an air about her that discouraged approach, and more than a few students glanced twice as they passed. "Lu Sun. I've only just heard you opened spirit veins. I hadn't realized how gifted you are." She came toward him unhurriedly, opening with praise. "You're too kind, Auntie." It was luck. Not knowing what she wanted, Lu Sun stayed modest. Opening extraordinary veins on both roads isn't luck. You're a genuine prodigy. There was admiration in her eyes. The sudden change of attitude left him thoroughly confused. "Auntie, is this about Youqing?" he asked, after a moment, going straight at it. Murong Yen sighed, and her expression softened. "It is, yes. But I've thought it through. With Youqing's talent she'll be at the 3rd or 4th realm by the time she graduates. With her, and a son-in-law like you, the Chu family will certainly rise in time. Why should I rush the matter?" That brightened his face at once. "Auntie, you're saying you approve? Of me and Youqing? I won't stand in your way any longer." She nodded. "I've matters at home, so I return to Rongqing tomorrow. I'd like to ask you to keep an eye on the shop on Qingbei Street for me. The manager runs it, you need only check the accounts every few days. Watching a shop. Hardly a burden. Lu Sun had no need to cultivate in time in abundance. Of course, Auntie. I won't have you working for nothing. You'll take 20% of the monthly takings. Auntie, there's really no need. It's settled. Come along to the shop now and I'll explain everything. All right. I'll let Youqing know. Not yet, she's out with her aunt. I'll have her come by this evening and surprise her. All right. And so, still talking, Lu Sun followed Murong Yen off the campus. Lu Sun, you must be worn out. Here, have some water. On the 3rd floor of the shop, Murong Yen handed him a glass. Thank you, Auntie. Sweating heavily, Lu Sun took it and drained it in one go. The shop was a sizable place, better than 200 square meters over 2 floors, with the 3rd floor given over to storage and the 4th to Murong Yan's own rooms. She'd bought the whole building, in fact, and named it the Star and Moon Building. Having followed her here, Lu Sun found there was a great deal to be done. Murong Yen meant to take a full inventory before she left, and several of the staff happened to be off today, leaving her short-handed. A chance to make myself useful, he thought, and volunteered for the stock-taking. It very nearly finished him. He'd never imagined the shop did such business, or held such quantities of stock. And with term starting, the first and second floors needed every hand available, so before long only he and Murong Wan were left upstairs. He could hardly let her tire herself out. So Lu Sun worked through the entire inventory of a shop that size single-handed. Without second realm cultivation behind him, he'd have collapsed long before finishing. Xiao Lu, you've worked hard. Let me get that. Murong Wan took out a silk handkerchief and moved to wipe the sweat from his face. A drift of scent came with her. Lu Sun found himself breathing it in, and at that closeness his heartbeat picked up for no reason he could name. He looked away sharply. She's Youqing's mother. I've no business thinking anything at all. But she was standing too close, and thoughts kept surfacing that had no business surfacing. Auntie, I can manage. He stepped back quickly. As you like. Here. She handed him the handkerchief, and he wiped his face, relieved. Youqing and the others will be here soon, and you're soaked through. Why not go up and shower? There's a machine in the bathroom, your clothes will be dry by the time you're out. Murong Wan will be coming too, Lu Sun thought. He had an image to maintain. So, following her directions, he went up to the 4th floor to wash. What's the matter with me? Under the water, he noticed something wrong. Images kept surfacing in his mind, and something was rising in him that he couldn't account for. He didn't think much of it. He was 19, his cultivation had climbed absurdly fast, and he simply had energy to spare. Impulses are human enough. Xiao Lu, come and sit. Let's talk. Half an hour later, Murong Wan saw him come out and invited him over with a smile. Auntie, Youqing isn't back yet. Soon. He crossed the room and sat down opposite her. Youqing has been rather like me since she was small. Willful. Independent. Very much her own mind. Murong Wan settled back and talked about her daughter's childhood. And Lu Sun found his attention going where it shouldn't. He caught himself looking, and looking again, at things he'd never have let his eyes rest on before. His eyes reddened. His body grew hot, as though a fire he hadn't lit were burning somewhere inside him. He didn't even notice how fixed his gaze had become. Murong Wan appeared not to notice either. She shifted, as though she'd grown tired of sitting still. Mro. Xiao Bai's voice sounded from his arms. Something's wrong. Lu Sun came back to himself all at once. His condition was badly wrong, and it was far too like the night Chu Youqing had drugged him. I've been drugged. He was certain of it within a heartbeat. By whom? His mind went racing back over the day. Breakfast and lunch had both been in the canteen, nothing could have been done there. He'd been at Murong Wan's the entire afternoon and hadn't eaten a thing. The water. The glass she gave me. His eyes snapped to her. Whatever's the matter, Xiao Sun? Murong Wan's smile curved, and she reached out a hand toward his forehead. She knew better than most how much difference skin contact made in this state. It would have finished whatever control he had left. I'm fine, Auntie. He jerked back out of reach. He knew it too, that was precisely how he'd lost control at Murong Wan's villa. Auntie, I've something to see to. I'll come back later. He turned to go. It was very likely her, but only very likely, and if he was wrong, an accusation would be unforgivable. So he didn't confront her. He simply left. Murong Wan moved, and put herself in his path. Xiao Lu, I feel faint. She pressed a hand to her head and swayed toward him. Lu Sun dodged aside quickly, but her staggering, whether or not he avoided it, sealed the way out. She was a third-realm warrior. Far stronger than he was. I have to get out of here. If I do something unforgivable, that's the end of everything. If Murong Wan had gone as far as drugging him, she'd certainly prepared for the rest of it, there'd be a camera somewhere in the room. But she was stronger, and she had the door and the windows covered. He couldn't leave at all. Mro. Xiao Bai cried out suddenly. Lu Xun looked, and saw a bead of bright red blood on her claw. Blood. Princess Barbara's last words came back to him at once. He caught the drop off Xiao Bai's claw and put it in his mouth. The gesture baffled Murong Wan, but she saw no threat in it, and didn't stop him. The next second, Lu Xun spoke the incantation, low and quick. And Murong Wan, mid-stagger, went entirely still. Lu Xun, what have you done to me? Panic broke over her the instant she found she couldn't move. It works. Xiao Bai, you're marvelous. Having silently thanked the cat, Lu Xun took out his phone, stepped in close, and held her frightened gaze. Auntie. It was you who drugged me, wasn't it? What drug? I don't know what you. You can't move. If I can't control myself, then whatever happens next. Yes. It was me. Her composure broke completely. Don't touch me. Third realm cultivation was precisely why she'd dared to drug him. She'd only needed him to lose control and lay hands on her, at which point she could restrain him easily and show the recording to Chu Youqing. She'd have lost nothing by it. Being unable to move was another matter entirely. So it was her. Auntie. I misjudged you. Lu Xun let the disappointment show. He'd respected her as an elder, and she'd used a trick like this to keep him from her daughter. If I don't show her what I'm capable of, she'll take me for someone who can be pushed. The words landed, something like shame crossed Murong Wan's face. Lu Xun. She got no further before she cried out. Because Lu Xun's eyes had gone red, and he came straight at her. Ah! Murong Wan was so scared that she closed her eyes tightly, and her long eyelashes trembled slightly like the wings of a frightened butterfly. Her plump breasts rose and fell rapidly, outlining an alluring curve under the thin fabric. A few seconds passed, but the expected touch still did not come. Murong Wan opened her eyes cautiously and met Lu Xun's face so close to her, his breath was hot, and the tip of his nose was almost touching her skin. His usually cold eyes were now scarlet, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing faintly. Obviously he was trying his best to restrain himself. Seeing Lu Xun like this, Murong Wan's heart started beating fast with fear. Lu Xun is a monk, and ordinary medicine has no effect on him. In order to ensure the effectiveness of the medicine, Murong Wan naturally gave Lu Xun no ordinary medicine, but a medicine that would harm even a cultivator of the third realm. Even the grandmasters of the fourth realm have a high chance of being affected. In her opinion, Lu Xun was absolutely out of control. Unexpectedly, Lu Xun braked the car abruptly. Not only did he control her, but Lu Xun also used some unknown means to control her. Although her strength is stronger than Lu Xun. But since she couldn't move, if Lu Xun couldn't control himself, she could only let Lu Xun do what he wanted. Then she's done. Lu Xun, listen to me. Murong Wan's voice trembled, with a hint of weakness. I won't stop you from being with Youqing, nor will I stop you from leaving. Go back to school, and solve it yourself, okay? Auntie was wrong. Ugh. Murong Wan wanted to play the emotional card to help Lu Xun regain his sanity. Only. Before she could finish her words, Lu Xun suddenly moved an inch closer, and his hot breath sprayed on her cheek, making her tremble all over and scream and close her eyes again. While being immobilized by the spell, Murong Wan could not move, but she could still speak and blink. It's just that the body can't make any movements and the strength can't be mobilized at all. After Lu Xun approached again, the distance between them was already dangerous. Lu Xun's lips were almost touching her rosy lips, and his hot breath lingered on her delicate skin. Murong Wan could even smell the scent of medicine mixed with his body, burning so strongly that it seemed to burn through the last of his sanity. Ah! Another scream. Murong Wan's breathing almost stopped, her chest heaved violently, and even her clothes trembled slightly. Because Lu Xun's fingertips had been touching her waist without her knowing when, and the scorching temperature through the thin fabric almost burned her. Lu Sun, please wake up. Her voice was soft and pleading, but before she could finish her words, Lu Sun's forehead was already against hers, their noses lightly touching, their breaths completely entangled. Ah! Murong Wan screamed again. Today, she screamed the most in her life. Just when Murong Wan thought she was finished, Lu Sun stopped abruptly. His voice was terribly hoarse, as if he was trying hard to suppress something. Auntie, is the medicine you gave me too strong? Murong Wan's ears were burning red and her heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of her chest. She never thought that her impulsive calculation would put her in such an embarrassing situation. Hearing Lu Sun speak, she breathed a sigh of relief. At least, Lu Sun could still speak and hadn't completely lost his mind. I just... She stammered and tried to explain, but Lu Sun's fingers suddenly touched her cheek, and his fingertips gently stroked her skin, causing her whole body to tremble. Just what? He laughed softly, with a hint of danger in his voice. Just want to see me lose control? Or... Lu Sun's lips were almost touching her earlobe, and his warm breath sprayed on her ear. Or is it that Auntie is actually looking forward to something? Nonsense, nonsense. Murong Wan was embarrassed and annoyed, but she couldn't move and could only let him tease her at such a close distance. Her fingertips clenched unconsciously, but her body remained stiff and she couldn't even push him away. Lu Sun's eyes darkened, and there was an irrepressible desire in them. But he remained restrained in his movements, his fingertips slowly sliding across her jaw, finally stopping at her lips. Since you've given me the drug, you should bear the consequences, right? Lu Sun's voice was low and contained a hint of bewitching. Murong Wan's heartbeat almost stopped. She closed her eyes tightly, not daring to look at him, but her senses were infinitely magnified at this moment. She could clearly feel his every breath, every heartbeat, and even the slight trembling of his fingertips. Lu Sun, don't mess around. 55. Murong Wan's voice was already filled with tears. Lu Sun's movements suddenly stopped. He took a deep breath, took a step back, raised his hand and pressed his temple hard, as if trying hard to calm his breathing. Of course, he was not really out of control, but did it on purpose to scare and teach Murong Wan a lesson. But if there was real physical intimacy, Lu Sun was sure that he would lose control. So, he had to control himself. Auntie. Lu Sun's voice was still hoarse, but his eyes were a little clearer. Do you know that the way you look now is very dangerous? Murong Wan was startled, slowly opened her eyes, and met his complex and deep gaze. Only then did she realize that her clothes had become slightly disheveled, her cheeks were flushed, and there was even a thin layer of water in her eyes. She looked, as if she was inviting him. Her face flushed red instantly, and she was filled with shame and anger. What on earth did you do to me? Untie me. Lu Sun suddenly smiled, that smile carrying a hint of helplessness, and a few emotions she couldn't understand. Let you go? And then what? Let you continue to plot against me? Murong Wan was speechless, but then she became angry and said, then what do you want? Lu Sun was silent for a moment, then suddenly raised his hand and gently brushed her lips with his fingertips, causing her whole body to tremble. Under the influence of the drug, these frivolous actions and words that had never happened before suddenly ran wild like wild horses. In fact, just this alone is the result of Lu Sun's great restraint. What do I want? Lu Sun repeated it softly, then suddenly leaned over and whispered in her ear, Auntie, if you dare to drug me again, I won't let you go so easily. Lu Sun's voice was soft, but it carried a threat that could not be ignored. While talking, Lu Sun turned on his phone and played a video. In the video, Murong Wan admitted to giving the drug and then screamed continuously after being approached by Lu Sun. She actually wanted a video like this too. But what she wanted to record was the evidence of Lu Sun's ugly behavior after the effects of the drug took effect and his evil intentions towards her. But now, Lu Sun's video clearly records the scenes that Murong Wan is most reluctant to face, her embarrassment in admitting to drugging, her embarrassment in being forced to retreat step by step by Lu Sun, and her shameful screams that were completely out of control. Every detail made her feel ashamed. "Auntie, goodbye." Lu Sun slid his slender fingers lightly and put the phone into his pocket. When he turned around, the corner of his clothes brought up a breeze. He paused at the door, his Adam's apple moving slightly, and finally left quickly without saying anything else. If he didn't leave now, he was really afraid that he would do something irreparable. After Lu Sun left, it was a long time before Murong Wan finally felt that she could move again. She collapsed to the ground powerlessly. The cold touch made her slightly sober, but it couldn't dispel the burning temperature on her face. Today, she completely lost face in front of Lu Sun. Although her innocence was not ruined by Lu Sun in the end, she looked so ashamed, with red tear marks at the corners of her eyes, messy hair, and fingertips that couldn't stop trembling. How could she have any dignity in front of Lu Sun? She buried her face deeply in her palms, and a few suppressed sobs escaped from between her fingers. Lu Sun went down the street at something close to a run. He had his own limits. He knew perfectly well it had been Murong Wan who dosed him, but she was Chu Youqing's mother, and while a shred of reason remained to him, he wasn't going to touch her. All he wanted now was to reach the dormitory, shut the door, and wait the thing out alone. "I'm not going to make it at this rate." His condition was worsening by the minute. The school was still some way off, and the street was full of students. He wasn't going to last. Spotting a hotel, he turned in. A room. Good soundproofing. Quickly. Of course. The receptionist, alarmed by the red in his eyes, booked it without argument. Lu Sun. He turned to find Murong Wan. She'd come to Qingbei Street to speak with her sister, to ask Murong Wan to stop interfering between Lu Sun and Chu Youqing, and had seen the state he was in on his way past. "Your sister drugged me," he managed. "It's stronger than what Youqing used." Murong Wan's face changed. She did it. She didn't doubt a word of it. Only yesterday Murong Wan had asked her to help set a honey trap for this very purpose. Scene continues, Lu Sun rides out the drug, the night passes. Qingbei Street was lively that night. And in the small hours, a piece of news came through that kept a great many people from sleeping. The tide is rising. On the sea a few hundred miles from the capital, the waves climbed, swells tens and then hundreds of meters high. Deeper out, the tides were more terrible still. In the Pacific, a killer whale 100 meters long broke from a 1,000-meter wall of water, cut a clean crescent through the air, and came down hard into the sea. The tide's coming in. At last. My sword's been thirsting, it's been too long since there was anything worth fighting. How many spirit stars do you suppose will meet at this node? However many. If they're enemies, we kill them. Ha! Just as I'd have it. I've been honing this blade for years waiting on the moment. I'll redden the whole ocean with him. High overhead, several figures stood in open air, robes snapping in a bloody wind, looking down at the churning water with murder in their eyes. The tide was rising. The news went across Blue Star faster than anything had in living memory, because it was a matter of the first importance. Every rising tide means Blue Star is about to enter the ancient Star Road. It would come within a few months, or a year, no longer than a year. Blue Star is an enormous thing, and it needs time to build speed through the void, then take a star's gravity in a slingshot arc and fling itself into the dark universe in one motion. All of it the planet's own doing, unbidden. And once Blue Star emerges from the dark universe, it will certainly enter a node of the ancient Star Road. At which point a fierce battle becomes inevitable. The nearer nodes involve more than one world, and when several planets that have ascended a dimension are thrown against one another, the chance of them coexisting peacefully is vanishingly small. So the tide has come at last. In Rongcheng, Murong Tian watched the broadcast and smiled. Within a year at the most, Blue Star would enter the ancient Star Road. And then their moment would arrive. Uncle. The Murong family has been in your hands a great many years, and it has gone nowhere. You're old. It's time to make way for the young. He looked toward Murong Wan's villa, ambition plain in his eyes. The tide is coming. High in the sky, inside a cloud, Fei Tai rose to his feet with his gourd in hand and looked out at the stars. Ahui. Remembrance moved in his eyes, and turned, by degrees, to pain, and then to something past pain. He murmured something about drinking beneath the stars and washing an old sorrow away, then lay back down in the cloud and returned to his wine. The night ran long. And while the whole of Blue Star lay awake over the rising tide, the sea went on with its own rising and falling until morning. Lu Sun didn't wake until the following afternoon. Murong Wan had already gone. She's left, then. He had no idea when. After the drug finally burned itself out, he'd fallen into a dead sleep. She won't hold it against me, will she? He couldn't help worrying. If anyone was to blame, it was Murong Yen, but it had still been Lu Sun who brought her up here. And if Murong Yen told me now that Chu Youqing wasn't her daughter, I'd never believe her. Mother and daughter to the bone, both of them willful, and both of them entirely too fond of drugging people. Cast from the same mold. A knock. Check-out time. Will you be extending your stay? No, thank you. I'll be down directly. He had money enough these days, but he saw no reason to throw it away. He got up in a hurry, settled the bill and left. Where has everyone gone? Back at the school, he found the campus deserted. He took out his phone, and understood. The tide. Not ordinary tides, the enormous ones raised by Blue Star building speed through the starry sky, capable of throwing up waves 1,000 meters high. A disaster in the past had come of exactly that. These days the tides no longer threaten the land, what they mean is that within a year, Blue Star will enter the ancient Star Road. And when it does, the world changes. A year. How far can I get in that time, and will it be far enough to set foot on the ancient Star Road at all? The prospect rather appealed to him. He stood now at the 8th stage of the second realm on the Martial Road, and the 6th stage of the second realm on the Immortal one. To leave Blue Star and walk the ancient Star Road, one has to cross the Rainbow Bridge. Flying under one's own power is unrealistic even above the 6th realm. The points of the ancient Star Road are called points, but their scale is generally measured in light years. Setting foot on the Rainbow Bridge requires the 3rd realm at minimum. And there are quotas. A great house like the Murong family will hold no more than 3 for the entire clan, which is precisely what a good deal of a family's internal knifework is really about. Whoever controls the family controls the allocation. And for a family that means to grow strong, reaching a node of the ancient Star Road isn't optional. More than one house has come back from a node transformed. For students of the 2 universities, securing a place is comparatively easy. The 3rd realm is still the price of entry. Lu Sun, the tides come. Blue Star's going to enter the ancient Star Road. I'm going to throw everything at it. My teacher says that if I can break into the 3rd realm before we cross, she'll give me one of her own places. He found Chu Youqing's message from the night before, unread. Replying to it, Lu Sun felt a distinct pang of guilt, which he then set down, on the grounds that her mother had brought every bit of this about. That done, he headed for the testing center to have his cultivation measured. Miss Murong. Murong Wan was at the door. She stopped, her face composed, though she didn't quite look at him, which suggested her composure was only skin deep. Thank you. Without you yesterday I'd have been finished. He said it sincerely. Color rose slowly in her cheeks. He's thanking me. For that. What was she supposed to say to it? You're welcome. What's done is done. I'll treat you well from here on, Lu Sun said, when she didn't answer. Her face went a shade redder still, and she made to leave without replying. Wait. There's dark energy on this card. And this is the Tai sword art, it's formidable, and it should serve you. He held out both. Murong Wan didn't want either, but it was plain he wouldn't let her pass until she took something, so in the end she accepted the sword art and left. The card she confiscated outright. Well. That's an attitude, at least. She doesn't seem too angry. A remarkable year for talent. Isn't it? Terms barely started and dozens are already at the first stage of the Chi-Si. And 2 at the second stage. Inside the testing center, several teachers were talking. It was nearly dusk, most students had been through already and the place was quiet. 2 at the second stage, one's Murong Wan. Who's the other? Lu Sun came in on the tail of it, went quietly forward, and submitted to the test. Extraordinary. 4th stage of the Chi-Si, 1st stage of Chi gathering, and dual cultivation advancing that fast. I don't understand it. Don't forget he has extraordinary veins on both roads. Of all the geniuses who ever chose dual cultivation, which of them ever managed that? It's been a long time since anyone like him came through. Though I can't see why he'd take both roads. Confine himself to one and he'd reach the 6th realm in a handful of years, and past the 6th would be nothing to him. The teachers were still exclaiming as Lu Sun turned and left. His measured cultivation had come out at the 4th stage of the Chi-Si on the martial road and the 1st stage of Chi gathering on the immortal. Term had only just started, and this was already absurd. What they didn't know was that he deliberately withheld the rest of it. Had he shown his true cultivation, their reaction would have been something else entirely. Everyone's working, then. After nightfall the Beidou University campus stayed unusually quiet. Ordinarily a good many students came out to move around after a day's training. Now they were all buried in it. The tide had put a clock on everyone. Once Blue Star enters the ancient Star Road it means endless opportunity, and endless danger, particularly for geniuses who haven't finished growing. Other ascending spirit stars use the crossing to hunt Blue Star's talents. The alien races hidden on Blue Star itself seize the chance to make trouble, and know the ground far better besides. Every crossing costs Blue Star a great many of its finest. And where are the finest concentrated? At the 2 universities. Which made it entirely understandable that Beidou's students had vanished into their training halls. Lu Sun had, quite suddenly, become the idlest person in either university. After a substantial dinner he took Xiaobai back to the dormitory. Everyone else was cultivating, wandering about was conspicuous. That assessment would have drawn the attention of more teachers and no few of the school's leadership already. Better to keep his head down. One place is as good as another for lying flat, and the dormitory was quite large enough. Comfortable. Bathed, and with Xiaobai's fur dried, he stretched out on the bed. Mro, she settled into his arms like a snowball. He stroked her with one hand and worked through his phone with the other. A school notice went up on the campus network the next day. Blue Star was about to enter the ancient Star Road, and this would be a severe test for the 2 university students. The universities were, almost every time, the focus of outside attacks. Nobody was to slacken this year. Monthly resource allocations were doubled with immediate effect. And a new board was being added, a rookie ranking, with substantial rewards each month for the top 3. A rookie board? Lu Sun looked it over. It ranked first years only, by cultivation. Previously the universities had simply named the strongest newcomer at the end of the first year, now there'd be a running list. That'll be me, then. The day passed. The next morning a new stone tablet stood in the middle of Beidou Square, with names cut into it. At the top of them, Lu Sun. The rookie board went up on the university's site and the campus network at the same hour. Lu Sun is at the 4th stage of the Chi-Si. And what in the world is 1st stage of Chi gathering? He's broken into the 2nd realm on both roads. Is he human? Has he come to some private arrangement with the way of heaven? 4th stage of the Chi-Si. 4th stage of the Chi-Si. Is this going to be the whole year? Is the school going to be in shock for a solid year? Every student who saw the board was struck dumb, eyes very nearly out of their heads. Because it was, frankly, a frightening result. Fourth stage of the Qi Si on the Martial Road, first stage of Qi gathering on the Immortal. Both roads into the second realm. And a 19-year-old first year. 3 words occurred to everyone who read it, not a human being. Look at the rookie board. Enormous news. What news? Look and see. It'll take the top of your head off. Students who saw it went straight to their friends. Few had paid the board much attention at first, being busy training, but word of it, and of Lu Sun's fourth stage of the Qi Si, went through the first-year cohort in short order, and then reached the second and third years. For a while, the sound of indrawn breath could be heard all over the campus. Impossible. In a training room, Lin Yen stared, disbelief written over his whole face. He'd been interested in the rookie board, and had been checking his phone since early morning to see where he'd placed. A single glance had left him unable to recover. Lu Sun. First on the board. And not merely first, fourth stage of the Qi Si. And as if that weren't enough, first stage of Qi gathering besides. Lin Yen couldn't make himself believe it. Another student might have assumed a wealthy family, foundations laid from childhood, resources poured in for years. Lin Yen had been at school with Lu Sun for 3 years. He hadn't paid him much attention then, but he knew perfectly well Lu Sun came from nothing. Which left him no way at all to account for the speed of it. He hadn't reached the second realm himself over the whole holiday. He'd spent a long time widening his red sun vein, an excuse that comforted him well enough measured against anyone else. Measured against Lu Sun, no excuse survived. The gap was heaven and earth. Lin Yen could see no prospect of closing it. Not even slightly. Why bother searching, when the fire's already lit somewhere out of reach? Life looked bleak to him all at once, and the future empty. His faith in the Tao was close to breaking.
Hello everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.